Episode 21. 021. Hello. Welcome to Freshly Grounded.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Well, what if, Sam, as we've already discovered, we have many non-Muslim listeners.
I'm just chucking peace and blessings out there for everyone, bruv.
Who might not know what that is.
Peace and blessings to everyone.
Peace and blessings to y'all. Y'all. How you doing, Sam? We're back after missing last week. And we're back.
Yeah, feels good. Feels nice to be back, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, we're back. We're crazy as ever. Salmon things.
You've been in a good mood today. It's been great. I haven't seen this for weeks.
You haven't seen me in a good mood.
Not a sincere one.
Yeah, man, I'm in a good mood. Why not?
Any reason why you're in such a good mood? Something good happened to you, or you just woke up on the right side of the bed?
I think I just woke up on the correct side of the bed.
Did you get an early night's sleep?
No. I was actually up writing scripts last night because I couldn't sleep until I got these scripts written.
What for?
That everyone will find out later. But I need cooperation from some friends. So, episode 21 of Freshly Grounded. Freshly Grounded is a weekly podcast that you guys are literally listening to right now with two guys, Faisal Chowdhury, the Pakistani prince of happiness.
What?
And Samuel Palmer, the British Caucasian counterpart of this brown mocha. How's that for an intro, huh?
Yeah.
Might as well.
What are you, sorry? You're the Pakistani prince of
happiness.
And I'm what?
Does that sound manly?
I'm what? No.
The British Caucasian counterpart of this brown mocha.
I'm fine for that.
Yeah? Should go with it.
I'm happy for that.
I haven't even been to Pakistan since I was like 6.
You should do that, man.
Yeah, probably. Guys, welcome to the this week's episode of Freshly Grounded. Freshly Grounded is a weekly podcast where we talk about life, happiness, stress, unhappiness.
We usually discuss all that.
Yeah.
This episode, I don't think we did.
No, this episode we had.
It was refreshing. It felt like some new topics were risen.
Yeah, this episode we had a guest, none other than Tommy Evans. He's a stand-up stand-up comedian. No, he's not. He's a spoken word artist. He's a poet. He's also a person who is currently in education. He's doing his PhD. He's very intellectual. He uses a lot of words that are big and scary. And, you know, we kind of got him here. We picked his brain, didn't we, Sam?
Tried to.
We tried to. We spoke about what kind of stuff did we talk about?
We spoke about
Cristiano Ronaldo. BBC Pay. We spoke about poetry and art, and we had a really interesting discussion about Tommy's take on the kind of religious events, didn't we?
Yeah.
It was interesting to hear his take on that.
He said lots of interesting things, to be fair.
Yeah, so it's an interesting podcast. I'm sure you guys will be into it.
Yeah.
As always, our podcast is brought to you by our lovely sponsors. It wouldn't be possible without them. Speaking of our sponsors, have you ever, Sam, just fancied a nice bunch of sweets, and then you've gone to the shops and you look at the back and it says, "Yo, I got pork gelatin in me."
Peak.
It's peak, innit?
It's peak.
Wouldn't you just love to have the widest range of halal sweets available anywhere that you can just get whenever you want, with new lines brought in seasonally? Is that not something that you would love?
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't you in a perfect world just love to know a sweet company which caters to events with goodie bags, sweet carts, hampers, cones, custom orders?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, in a perfect world, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, something that doesn't have pork gelatin and all this stuff is just completely halal.
Yeah, in a perfect world, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, do we live in a perfect world, Sam?
No.
Well, I'm here to tell you, in this regard, yeah, we do. Wouldn't you just love a lovely, friendly brand with a great ethos of spreading positivity and giving more, but also sold great halal sweets?
In a perfect world, mate, yeah.
Well, Sam, let me tell you something. I'm about to tell you about something. A company called Halal Sweets Company. That's what it's called. It's called Halal Sweets Company because guess what they do, Sam?
Halal sweets?
They do halal sweets and they're a company. I'm here to tell you, if you go to halalsweetscompany.co.uk and you use the discount code Freshly Grounded, you get yourself a discount on all sorts of halal sweets, halal sweet cones, halal sweet boxes, hampers, jars. Probably one of the most perfect gifts for pretty much any occasion. And they retail and they wholesale. And guess what the best thing is, Sam?
What?
They give back to Muslim charities.
Oh, mashallah.
They give back a portion of their earnings to Muslim charities. Check them out, halalsweetscompany.co.uk. That's halalsweets halalsweetscompany.co.uk. On Instagram, it's halal.sweets.company. On Twitter, it's twitter.com/halalsweetscomp. Halal Sweets Comp.
Yep.
And facebook.com/halalsweetscompany UK. We're also brought to you by 59. That's 50_9 on Flavor. On Flavor.
On Instagram.
On Instagram. And it's 59 Stanhope Road in St Albans, Hertfordshire. Hands down, the best my favorite. Hands down, my favorite cafe. Not only is it my favorite cafe, it's also a well-being cafe. It's got very healthy, natural, home-cooked food and snacks, fresh snacks, fresh food, fresh coffee, freshly squeezed juice, all types of juice. Great for your immune system. Great for all kinds of different things. And also, yesterday I was actually I went to a cafe yesterday with a friend. Went to meet an old friend, and we went to a cafe in West London. And I said, "Oh, the coffee here is nice." And he goes, "Oh, do you know what? If you like," he goes, "I'm not much of a coffee drinker, but I have a group of I have a WhatsApp group of my mates, and they all love coffee. So if you like the coffee here, I'm gonna message them and let them know there's great coffee in this shop." I said, "Whoa, there, mate." I said the coffee's good, but don't be telling your friends that I recommend this coffee. There's only one coffee that I think is the best coffee that I recommend. Wallahi, I told him. I said best coffee is 59. I'm not just saying that because it's my friend's cafe.
We said wallahi, so yeah, I believe you.
Best coffee I've had. I love.
Alhamdulillah.
My
mother said the same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that coffee, and I love their snacks, and I actually had one of their energy balls this morning. Maybe that's why I've been so energetic in this podcast.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah. If you go to 59 this month, and you quote Freshly Grounded to the lovely staff members, you get yourself a tote bag for half price. A 59 tote bag for half price.
The month of July. This is the month of July.
You give for a £5, don't you?
You get this for 50% off, which would be just £5.
That is amazing.
Just for the July.
Just for the July.
Just for the July, the month of July.
Yeah.
Just for the month of July. And then, after you've purchased your tote bag, you're going to go over to izaha.com, where you can find yourself Arabic-influenced baseball caps, T-shirts, jumpers, but mostly beautiful caps. There's a lifestyle section in there with some fantastic beard oils. It's a fantastic company. It's a fantastic brand. You get a 15% discount if you quote Freshly Grounded, which I think is extremely generous. So for a well-priced hat, you're going to get even more discount off it, which is fantastic. I personally recommend these hats. I wear them. My team wears them. They're fantastic. They're beautiful. They're promoting peace, love, and unity. After you've purchased your hat or your T-shirt or your jumper, you're going to then what?
You've decided that you want to start a business.
Just like that.
You decided you want to start a business, but you suck at marketing your business. You suck at branding your business. Maybe you want an iPhone application. Maybe you want a website. Maybe you just want social media marketing, social media content. You want great content. You own a business where you sell. What do you sell, Sam? Come on, let's make something up.
Cupcakes.
You sell cupcakes. And you think, I do sell cupcakes, but I want to portray the cupcakes great. I want to get great pictures of my cupcakes, put on my Instagram. I want to create great video viral campaigns for my cupcakes. You know what? You need flavor. You need a bit of flavor. And that's flavor, flavr.co.co. So flavr.co. Hit up Flavor, your complete 360 marketing solutions. And with that being said, shall we get into the podcast, episode 21, Sam?
We should.
Without any further ado. Oh, it's episode 21.
And welcome to Freshly Grounded, the brand new podcast by best friends Faisal and Sam.
Huh?
I said welcome to Freshly Grounded,
No, after that bit.
the brand new podcast
And after that bit?
by best friends Faisal and Sam.
Really?
And we're back. I should probably start with Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum, Sam.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
We're back. Man, every time we just miss one episode, it just feels so good to be back and refreshing,
It
didn't
was
it?
great to be back, bro.
We're back and we're bad.
We're just back.
Yeah.
Episode what? 21?
21. We're on our way to 30 now.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, just past 20.
Yeah. How you been, man?
Alhamdulillah, I can't complain. Everything's good.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
But I've been good. Unfortunately, I've been good apart from yesterday. Actually, this is the first podcast in a good few weeks where I haven't had my nose issue. If you listen to the podcast last couple of weeks, you'll probably hear me sniffling and blowing my nose, and it's feel good.
How come?
Alhamdulillah. I don't know. Maybe it was just a
I swear how long have you had that for?
it was only last couple of weeks.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, don't overcompensate for my.
I kind of just always think of you as always like we've got tissues
Always
and like,
bunged
always
up,
kind
yeah.
of making noises and stuff. I was only been a few weeks.
Yeah.
I've always had you down as quite a snotty person.
Yeah, thanks. Bro, guess what happened? Guess what I realised yesterday?
What did you
Really
realise?
upset. So about last week, one or two people were like, "Oh, we can't get access to the episode 20 on podcast app."
On the podcast, yeah.
Remember I told
that.
you when I went to Men's Spa to get my haircut,
Yeah.
and then I foolishly, lazily, and everything ignored it because I could access it on my podcast app. So I thought if it's accessible on the podcast app, they're probably just doing something wrong.
Yes.
Hello to the world's worst customer service person in the world, Faisal Chowdhury, because there was actually an issue. And the reason I could probably access it was probably because I had downloaded it when it was available. And then here's what's happened. For about the past week, probably nobody has actually been able to listen to episode 20 of the podcast because the website's been down. And I obviously don't check our website often because our website it's not active. The reason that we have a website, freshlygrounded.com, is for two reasons. A, the way iTunes and podcasting works is iTunes has to feed the audio from somewhere. It has to find the audio from somewhere. And so that has to generally be your website. So when you upload the episode on your website, iTunes realizes that you uploaded a new episode and then it puts it on its iTunes, on iTunes. That's how it works, right? Secondly, because we have an email address, hello@freshlygrounded.com. Likewise, generally, we get a fair few emails throughout the week. We haven't been getting any emails. These should have all been alarm bells in my fickle little mind. However, they weren't. They were, but I just never put it to the front of my priority list. And then I realised that the server, Freshly Grounded server, had been down for a good while. And so when iTunes was looking for the podcast episode, it couldn't find it because it needs the website to be running to be able to find it from the website, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's a massive issue. So I rang up the server, the hosting provider and all that kind of stuff, got it all sorted. And then the day before yesterday, so this past Tuesday, I actually fixed it. And what I had to do is I had to delete every single episode of the podcast and re-upload all of them.
Really?
No, re-upload them as in like export and upload. It was really quick. I just like repaste the link in.
Right. Okay.
So we didn't lose any. We didn't lose any like stats or downloads or anything like that. But I had to just configure it. So as of now, all of the episodes of the podcast, you should be able to listen to them and everything fine. But yeah, the stats on last week's episode would have been weren't as high as in general because
really
you could access it. After about 800, it got 800 downloads, and that was probably in the first day or so. And then after that, no one was able to access it. So, well, the good news is that now people have 2 episodes to listen to.
Alhamdulillah.
The bad news is that when we thought there was an episode out, there kind of wasn't. No.
We live and learn.
We live and learn.
Good morning, Red.
We live and learn and we live.
Is Red One got a mic?
Red One's mic'd up, yeah. He doesn't want to talk though. Oh, he's eating. He's eating his peanut butter Oreos. I think that's
why I want to bring him into the conversation.
Nah, he's eating his peanut butter Oreos.
Good morning, Red One. 10 minutes past 10. You're having a breakfast.
Which is a peanut butter Oreo.
Are they peanut butter ones? Are they peanut butter Oreos?
They are.
I'm not a fan of peanut butter Oreos in one bit. What I'm a fan of is...
Are they a favourite of yours?
No, they're not.
You prefer normal Oreos or...?
I actually do prefer them, but
today
I was in the mood for peanut butter. It's not hardly breakfast, but today's my indulgence day, as Faisal would put it, because he doesn't like the word cheat.
Yeah, he's indulgent.
Thursday's cheat day.
He is indulgent.
Just for yourself or for Faisal as well?
It's just for myself, but Faisal can join if he wants. I don't want to be a bad...
Well, you pulled out the crisps for him, didn't you? What else did you pull out for him?
I had a croissant as well.
Just the crisps.
I'm going to come to the croissant. Was it just the crisps? He's got his Doritos. He's had his croissant and his cheese. Melted cheese he's had.
Went to a dessert place yesterday. Went to a dessert place yesterday.
Did you? An Amigo, you went to a burger place.
Yeah.
It's good.
He's had a dose of sweetness from you.
Absolutely. He had a little vanilla ball.
Yeah, but that was healthy.
That was healthy to be
fair.
Sorry,
I just got really awkward real quick.
Bro, I don't know. I haven't been mad on my diet. So I did it. So my wife put a fat. What's it called? It's one of those scales that measures your BMI, your fat percentage, all that kind of stuff yesterday or day before yesterday. She bought one, and what it does is apparently it sends an electric like shot up your body, and that's how it measures everything. But you
Really?
can't feel it, and apparently it's really safe. So anyway, your boy steps on the scales. My weight 75 kg. Alhamdulillah, I was 69 before I started training.
What?
Yeah,
You were 69, now you're what?
75.
75?
Yeah,
You're the same weight as me.
Really?
But I was funny enough, we exactly the same weight. I used to be 69, 70. I used to fluctuate between the two, and now I'm 75.
Would you look at that? It's almost like we're one person.
Very similar. Yeah.
Anyway, body fat percentage wise, you ready for it?
Go on.
Now, let me put it in context before I tell you my body fat. Ajmal, when I met Ajmal last year, he was training, getting ready for his competition, which is a world champions of natural bodybuilding, international world championships bodybuilding, in Miami. So he actually won. So he's actually world champion natural bodybuilder.
Mashallah.
And for that, I believe he got down to maybe 6 or 7% body fat. Really, really low. Any lower one, he would have been. It was already quite dangerous for him, but extremely dangerous. It could have been life threatening.
Yeah.
So he got to as safe as you could get to when it comes to losing body fat, right? Now on this form for adults, what it said on this like a graph that I found on the internet for adults, it said an athlete would be between something along the lines of like, you know, like 12 to 17 or something percent, and then a fit person is something like 18 to 21% body fat or something, and then an average person then would be like 21 to 25%, and anything above 25% you're obese.
Okay.
Okay, I fall into the fit category then.
Fit.
Yeah, because I'm around 20.
Okay,
But
well,
like
guess what I am.
latent fit.
Guess what I am.
I guess you are 20, 19, 17, 19,
I was just under 24% body fat.
24.
I'm almost obese.
How is that possible?
That is-
I'm
that's-
almost obese.
It's impossible. That's what I'm saying. It's impossible because you
How? Because if I'm around 20 and I look
refute everything you
considerably...
just said. It's ridiculous.
Listen, you put in your height. You put in
Well,
your...
let's break down the word. What does obese mean then? Let's break that down. If you're claiming you're obese now, what is?
No, I'm not obese. I'm 1% away from obese.
Oh,
I'm
1%. Okay.
So in
1% away.
1%'s time, I'm going to be obese.
Really?
Yep. Now listen here.
I thought
What you have to
were
do
saying
is,
lower than
let me just explain the scales to you. You put in your height.
that.
You put in your age.
How high are you again?
About
What's your height again?
175 centimeters.
175.
About 5'8", 5'7", 5'8". So you put your height, you put in your age, and you put in your gender. Sorry, not your gender. Oh, I can't remember what is the difference between gender and sexuality again. I did this in university. Yeah, like you put in whether you're male or female, and then you stand on scales, and it tells you your weight, your BMI, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so that's how I did it. So I'm 1% away from being obese.
And just to clarify, how does that make you feel that you're 1% away from obese?
Not great.
Yeah, but do you think that's true then? Yeah. Does that make sense? Really?
It seems like maths to me, maths and science. My wife's a mathematician, so
Yeah, I
she's very
appreciate that. I
maths-based.
appreciate that. But then, what do you class as obese?
25% body fat.
You don't care to just.
Nah, I'm joking, but
discuss it.
obviously I think it's absolute.
Does your wife...
Is that technically true then? You would be classed as obese then?
According to Google, yeah. Now the for women it's above 31% because
Right.
something like women there's a difference between men and women, and yeah, I don't know,
Okay.
it said I was 38% muscle.
38% muscle.
Yeah, I have 38% muscle. I don't know how that goes down in muscle terms because I don't know anybody to compare it
So
to.
what do you weigh in stone?
In stone, that
Do you
would
know?
make me around 12 stone, I believe.
12 stone.
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm not taking this stuff too seriously. It was just interesting.
It is interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
When you think of someone obese, you think of someone who like is carrying
Struggles to stand.
a lot of extra weight, yeah.
I remember when I was like 13 or 14 or maybe a bit younger, I went to the doctor's surgery and I weighed myself and everything, and the doctor, and all I was a chubby kid. I wasn't like really fat, a chubby kid. And doctor told me then I was obese.
How did that make you feel?
Not great.
What, in the doctor's surgery, he looked at you and
Correct.
said you're obese?
Technically, yeah. Like you're
How old were you?
considered extremely young, between 12 and 15.
Did it have any kind of effect on you? Be honest.
I mean, I still remember to this day.
Yeah,
So it
well-
must have. Yeah, it must have. There's little things I remember. There's not a lot. If I remember something from over 10 years ago, it must have had something impact. Because if I tell you to remember something from 10 years ago, you can't remember much, can you? Unless it was something specific because it hit a certain nerve or something. So you remember the big things like when your child was born, or like when someone passed away, or when your doctor told you you were obese. Or do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Strangely enough, I had a client in my chair yesterday who, first time I met him, must have been about 20 years ago. And I remember the pudding he had when I met him. And I said that to him. And I thought, how do I remember that?
Because you
sticky
probably,
toffee pudding. I remember he had sticky toffee pudding 20 years ago, bro.
but bro, that must have at that time hit like a certain like you must have never seen sticky toffee pudding before.
I
Or you must
definitely
have,
had.
You must have really
It
liked
was
the look of
very
that
nice
pudding.
sticky toffee
Yeah.
pudding. I was at someone's house and it was very, very light.
There you go. It would be like, oh my god, this is amazing. You know, I don't remember much from 20 years ago.
20 years ago, bro.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I would have been 3 years old.
Maybe even over 20 years ago.
Wow, I could have been 0. Wow, you just made yourself sound really old.
I did, didn't I? But
Yeah,
that's
really
real.
old.
That's real talk.
I've
That's
never
scary.
used a sentence where I've said 20 years ago.
I know, man. That's the first time I've done it.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm 28, and I remember I was very, very young when this happened. I was young, so it must have been 7 or 8, maybe even 7 or 8 must have been young.
I couldn't use that. Like
20 years.
if I said 20 years ago, I'd be like, oh, so 20 years ago, I literally can't remember what I was doing at 3 years old. I wasn't even in reception or anything. 20 years ago today, I was probably just chilling, causing havoc, just about speaking, walking around the house in my underwear, in my nappy, maybe underwear. 3 years old, you're probably out of a nappy by now.
Yeah, you should be. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a late bloomer.
I've been working for 13 years.
It's fine.
How long have you been working for? 2 years. I'm not even telling me. I'm just curious.
I started my first business when I was 15.
When you were 15. But how long would you say you've been working? You've been working full time for yourself, sort of thing. 2 years.
3 years. 2-3 years.
How's work going?
Alhamdulillah.
Working on any exciting projects?
Yeah, a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they secret?
No. Not for you.
What about all the listeners and viewers?
On a podcast, probably. So,
Go on, you got loads of interesting things going on.
well, let me tell you about what happened recently.
Okay.
Because you asked me just before the podcast, you said, "Is that a new watch you're wearing?" And
Yes.
it's not a new watch at all. I actually got this watch about a year and a half ago, but
You have quite a lot of watches, I've noticed.
yeah, I never wear them.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of watches. I think just because you don't really see me in a watch.
I've
So when
you
I
in
do
about-
wear a
Since I
watch,
met you, I've seen you about 3 or 4 watches.
alhamdulillah, I don't buy watches. So
given them and
apart
stuff.
from this one,
Oh, it's true, actually. You've had a lot of gifts, haven't you?
yeah, apart from this one, I've been gifted all my
You
watches.
buy that yourself, did you?
This one I bought myself.
Yep.
It's an Apple Watch, but it was because when I worked there, we were offered as employees, we were offered an amazing discount, and so it was so amazing that it was stupid not to, and so I got it, and I used to wear it a lot, and then I stopped wearing it,
Yep.
and I remembered that the thing that I loved about it is that it has your calendar, your calendar. Let's say I put my calendar on my iPhone. It will come up on my watch. It will tell me that 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock today I've got this meeting, for example. Now, I haven't worn this Apple Watch for over maybe like 8 months, 9 months. It's been almost a year probably since I've worn this watch, yeah. And then the other day I had a meeting and I forgot, and I schedule my meetings in mostly with my phone, right? I do use my schedule, my phone, my calendar, yeah. But I scheduled this meeting in. I'm driving into work in my trackies, and my brother calls me. He's like, "Remember, we got this meeting tonight." I'm like, "Oh, damn! I completely forgot." And that caused me a lot of hassle because I was already on my way to work in a lot of traffic. I had to turn around, and I had a 9 a.m. meeting anyway, and I had to miss the meeting. It caused me so much havoc that I decided, do you know what? Why the hell am I scheduling stuff with my phone if I'm never gonna see it?
Yeah.
And so then I remembered about my watch. I started wearing my watch again. It's literally amazing because
Really?
you check the time and then it also tells you, like, look at this. So I've checked the time, but it also tells me that today we've got to do that thing. but otherwise I would have forgotten. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. What does it say on it?
It just says freshly grounded.
Right.
But so now if I've got a meeting, let's say if I'm
do you speak to people on the phone?
nah,
speak to people on that?
on watch. You can, but I don't.
Midge has literally just got this week,
Oh,
and I've been hearing people talk about it a lot.
no, it's not amazing.
I know it's not a new thing, but he's literally just got one, and I keep on seeing him on the phone.
He'll definitely get bored of using his
He was
phone.
saying the straps are about 200 quid, aren't they, to get new straps?
Yeah, they're really expensive, but you get fake ones for like 10 or 15
Is
quid.
that fake?
But this is a real.
That looks good, that one.
This is the real Billionaire Boys Club watch strap.
Yeah. You get non-Apple branded ones.
Yeah, but you can't get them from Apple.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
This is a Billionaire Boys Club strap, but it's not mine. It was gifted to my brother from a friend of his in America. But Omar's Apple Watch isn't working right now, so I took his strap. Because you could just change straps as you wish. My point is, bro. So now, let's say if tomorrow I have a meeting, yeah, or let's say today I have a meeting. Let's say tomorrow I have a meeting, and I haven't got anything left in my schedule today. What it will do is my watch will tell me the next thing that's scheduled on my schedule. So it will say tomorrow at 2 p.m. you have a meeting, and then and every time I just see it. It's just really, really handy for that. That's like the only thing I use it for.
So you'll keep wearing it then?
I think so because that day really messed me up.
Did it?
And that would have been the solution to it.
Why did you have to turn around? When you were saying about the story, when your brother reminded you about the meeting, why did you have to turn around and miss your meeting?
Oh, sorry, I had to change my clothes because of my trackies.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
You had to
yeah,
put
yeah.
smarter clothes on.
Slightly smart. Trackies was a bit of a stretch. So speaking of that, remember when you were talking about how you felt, how you do understand and you get how like dressing smarter, you perform better at work. Well, believe it or not, I know you won't believe it because you only ever see me in trackies, and today I'm wearing trackies again. But this whole week I've been wearing jeans. I've been wearing a shirt.
Really?
But like not like a shirt like.
That's interesting, man. Remember we had the conversation about like.
Yeah, I remember that.
What's your thoughts on it?
But not but when I say shirt, I don't mean like a business shirt, but like still, it's a shirt still more formal than a t-shirt. So a shirt with t-shirt.
Hearing you talk about wearing jeans and a shirt, like
sounds crazy.
It sounds really smart for you.
Yeah.
The time I've seen you in a shirt was at the Enlight event.
This is the first. Yeah, I was actually wearing that shirt this time. Look.
And you look really smart.
Yesterday I was wearing a. Let me see if I got a picture from yesterday. Let me see. So basically, what I'm trying to get at while I'm trying to find this is that it has made a big difference, bro. Yeah, definitely, and I'm definitely pro it. To be honest, it felt really good, and I've been working in, and
how come you decided to start doing that?
Because of that day when I had that meeting, and then
you had to go and get changed, and you thought, oh, maybe I should just.
I thought maybe I should start doing a bit. Like if you can see it there, you can't see it properly, but in that snap, that's me yesterday. It's not like anything too professional, but it's like an open shirt with a t-shirt underneath. Do you know what I mean? With jeans on.
Yeah.
It's nothing crazy.
So you haven't done that today because you're doing shooting freshly grounded.
I'm shooting freshly grounded, and
how come you're not wearing it today? Jeans and a shirt.
Because I'm
A bit more of a relaxed day.
I can't actually remember why. I remember that I'm shooting freshly grounded, not because I'm shooting freshly grounded. I can't remember, man. Last night was a bit mad, as in I was out and stuff, and then so when I come back, I didn't have time to like, prepare my clothes the night before, which I don't generally do anyway, and I'd have to iron a shirt and stuff like that, and then I just knew that I wouldn't necessarily need to today, but generally I'm gonna do it like generally every day I'm gonna be wearing like jeans and stuff. I haven't found it uncomfortable or anything, so this was the first day I did it when I was wearing that shirt.
Yeah, great.
I was just wearing, I'm even wearing jeans. Like, it's still not mad formal, but it felt better, man.
I think that's a good look for you, man.
I think so as well. I felt more mature. I felt like a man.
Did it have an effect on your work in the day?
Yeah, 1,000,000%, bro. It did.
Yeah.
100%. So I'm actually not very. You'll be so surprised for me to hear me say that I'm actually not comfortable right now in my trackies and t-shirt.
Why is that?
Because I don't feel like I'm at work.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It is very interesting.
Yeah.
Today, I felt very lazy because I knew in the back of my head that technically I don't need to. Because I'm not doing much work today. Today, I'm shooting freshly grounded. As soon as freshly grounded is done shooting, I'm going to edit freshly grounded. As soon as freshly grounded is done editing, I'm going to the gym. And so all of those things don't really require. But
what does that do to your mindset then? If you're feeling a bit lazy and you can get away with being a bit lazy, if you then put like a lazy outfit on, you're just going to encourage that laziness?
Yeah. Like I said, like literally today, shooting freshly grounded, editing freshly grounded, going to the gym. And so in my head, Thursdays are like written off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
So it's not. I don't even feel like I'm at work. Like even though I am technically at work. Like this is more.
Yeah.
This is a different day, and everyone in the office knows like that Thursdays I'm kind of out of action.
Yeah, right.
So I don't feel like I'm like.
But then you're. So how do you want to appear to the world? Because obviously today you're getting filmed on Freshly Grounded, so you're representing yourself. How do you want to represent yourself to the world?
Well, with the camera, I always want to be, even in my vlogs and stuff, I always want to be as real as possible. So if I'm wearing trackies, I feel lazy, I'm going to show the camera. If I haven't had a haircut, I'm going to show the camera as much as I can, because I feel like the little people who do follow what I do and what I get up to, they come across as very nice people. I don't say that often. I don't speak about like the people who follow or watch my stuff, but I feel like they deserve for me to not try and like fool them.
Yeah.
Because if I'm just smart, I'm just smart. If I'm not, I'm not. They're on a journey with me, man. They're just they're just like watching my life and watching me grow. But yeah, general consensus. And like, bro, I hate the fact that I haven't had a trim right now and I look a bit of a mess. I feel like a mess, but I know that I'm getting a trim tomorrow, and you know.
I feel like your little effort to wear what you've been wearing for the last couple of days has been like really impactful in your managerial kind of role as well. Everyone does take you much more seriously.
I feel like I take myself more seriously, bro.
Not that I didn't take you seriously before, but I don't know. I just feel like you've owned it way more.
I feel like I take myself more seriously, man. Like I appreciate that, and it's just because you do. Yeah, but you say like when you work for yourself, or even not work for yourself, but work in an environment where you're able to wear what you like, and like let's say you don't have like your management don't have a problem with what you wear. We said originally that one of the benefits is that you can wear what you like, or one benefit of working for yourself, for example, is that you can kind of wear what you like. You're not told what to wear. But bro, personally, I understand why employers tell their people to dress a bit smart.
I consider this is work. What we do is
you guys generally dress smart. Like the guys in the office, Red, Mehdi, Daoud, Reese, like them guys generally wear quite smart clothes.
I'm so toned down though. Like 2 years ago, I'd be going to uni like, smart casual, or like, and then sometimes borderline smart. Like I've been in like conferences.
I like smart casual.
And I in suits, and it feels completely different. You feel like a different person. Your characters change.
Well, my aim is, do you know what I'm going to do, bro, Sam? I really want to do this because I've been in need of a change of wardrobe for so long anyway, but I'm going to do, inshallah, I plan to do like a nice big shop and like update my wardrobe and get some smart casual, because I'm a man now, and most of the times I do need to be dressed like in a mature way. So I want to actually go to a big shop. I want to,
I support that. I support you in your decision. I think it's good.
I need to save some dollar for that.
No, you don't have to spend a fortune, man.
I would like to spend a fair bit.
I think you go to the right place, you don't have to spend a fortune.
Yeah, maybe.
Smart casual stuff, bro. You don't really want to buy, like, you can just go somewhere, you can go to H&M, Zara, you can go to those high street places and get some nice smart casual stuff.
But I mean, I really don't have much smart casual stuff, so I'd have to get like a whole wardrobe full of them.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I know that's like a first world thing to say.
That's good. I think it's a good look. I didn't expect you to be saying this. Yeah. I think it's good.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's
smart,
what it is.
How smart would you go?
No.
What shoes do you wear?
Alright, so the other day in the office, I tried on Sam's Chelsea boots, and I really liked the look. So I think to a meeting, I would rock like jeans, Chelsea boots,
that's
and a shirt.
Imagine if you put some shoes or boots or something on your feet,
like
you'd
that.
look incredible.
I'll be up for that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, a nice fresh
that would change it. That would change it even more. That would change your feeling even more. Because trainers have a feeling, a very casual feeling. If you put something a little bit smart on your feet, again, you could hear when you walk. It's like when you can hear your everything. Yeah. You know, when I'm wearing like a suit and proper shoes and I'm walking.
You've been wearing a suit more often now.
Yeah,
recently,
but when I can hear my smart shoes walking on the road, it sounds better than trainers, doesn't it?
I saw your suit upload the other day.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
I love Sam's.
What you were saying is a very similar thing. Like I own loads of tracksuits, loads of comfy clothes and that. And I generally dress very, very casual, but recently I'm trying to implement a bit smarter. And I went all in. I got like a 3-piece suit and I feel great. When I wear that and I'm working, it makes me feel like a whole other person. Yeah. Makes me feel like how I should feel when I'm working. It kind of changes levels, like when you're wearing, especially wearing a tie as well. Like it does change how
I personally don't like ties at all. But I get the
I get
the
suits.
point of
I
wearing
hate
them.
suits, trousers, shoes, everything.
He said that
hated it.
he said that I'd never see him in a suit.
Yeah, and this is my first ever suit I've got recently. I really, really like it. Really like it.
I liked it too.
Thank you.
As in a double tacked picture.
Oh no, yeah, thanks, bro.
Yeah,
he's not a hater.
That's good now.
So the Squared.
Red's friend works there.
Does he?
Yeah, he works in. Is it D squared or the squared? Is
D squared, isn't it?
D squared?
I don't know. I've never heard of that band until I saw Sam's hat.
Oh, it's quite.
I'm not in the know. In the know-how.
It's not a Zaha, but it's a nice hat.
Yeah, it would do, I suppose. Current events. I'm joking. Alhamdulillah, man. Yeah. So, busy life, man. Busy life. We've had 2 weeks have gone missing. 2 weeks have gone out. What have you been up to? Just cutting hair?
What have I been up to? Really general, like proper bread and butter, basic foundation stuff. My last 2 weeks. Cutting hair.
Teaching? Do you teach?
Nah, I haven't been teaching.
When was the last time you taught?
I haven't taught for a while. I've just been cutting hair. Family. 59. Family.
I'm glad to hear it. It's the most important things.
Hair. Family. Family. A little bit of hair again. What
Wow.
about yourself?
You like your hair and you like your family.
No, it's been like I said, like it's just been a very, very bread and butter, nice 2 weeks, man. Just very, very nothing too eventful, which has just been nice.
Same here, to be honest. Likewise, just been working actually.
When you try and pick things out that you've done, it's all just been. I think it's quite a good thing that things have just been. It's just smooth. Things are just kind of smooth. Just working on things, but it's all smooth, man.
Speaking of smooth, should we smoothly transition this podcast? Our guest has just come into the room, and so we'll take a quick break, and we'll resume the podcast with none other than the linguistic genius and educated mastermind. I don't know any words. Mr. Tommy Evans. Let's take a break. And we are joined by the one and only Tommy Evans. Is your full name Thomas? It'd be cool if it is. Just so we can say Thomas.
That is what it says on my birth certificate.
But you prefer Tommy?
Tommy, Tom, T, whatever you want to call me. But most people call me Tommy.
We're with Tommy Tom T here. And
yeah, Tommy Tom T isn't as cool.
Right, okay.
Sort of one of the three as opposed to the three converged together in a hideous amalgamation.
Now, I'm gonna try and understand every word that you use in this podcast today, but we are speaking for over an hour, and so do forgive me if I have to stop you on occasion and ask you what that word means.
That's okay. Maybe we could have like a tally chart. So every time I say like a mad, flowery, verbose word, bing, bing.
I remember do you remember we did that video in my house like a year ago, or over a year ago, and then I asked you to like explain what one word meant, and you explained it with another word that I didn't know what it meant. I was this is. So yeah, tell me. I have so much to get into, but probably the. Oh man! All right, fine. Let's start here. The Grenfell Tower.
Boy,
you're local boy to the Grenfell Tower, so that's why I'm interested in your thoughts, your feelings, because for you it's very much so close to home. It's not just you live in London or you live in England. You live. I don't know exactly where you do live, but I know that you're extremely in the vicinity of this area and the area of Grenfell Tower. So how did that affect you, man? And what kind of was going through your head?
Wow, you made a very good point often when you see a tragedy unfold on a TV screen or on the radio or on the web, obviously as a compassionate human being, your heart goes out to the people that are suffering, but there's still an abstract level to it in that it's not immediate, it's not tangible, it's not visceral, it's not before your eyes. So I think the difference between this instance and any other tragedies that we've seen before is that it's literally right on my doorstep, and it's not just a physical reality in that you can see the building or what's left of it. It's also the fact that you know people involved, or you know people who know people involved, etc. So it's just so realistic, tangible, visceral, immediate. and personal in a way that nothing that I've seen or heard or encountered before has been. So in a way, it almost becomes abstract because it's not abstract.
Right.
So when you've seen hideous things occur in the news before, there's a certain distance to it. Whereas with this, it's so right before your eyes that you've never experienced that before. So you're thinking, am I really seeing this, hearing this, experiencing this? So I'm sure everyone's seen and heard what has occurred. I think to dwell on the negatives isn't necessarily my place to do that, because there's people who have been even more immediately involved than myself who would articulate it so more eloquently than myself. But what I think is the best thing to focus on are the positives that have come out of it, which sounds a very odd thing to say because it's such a horrific occurrence. But when I say positives, I mean the community spirit. So again, something that for me was almost an abstraction before became so immediate and tangible once again because we saw the response from the community as soon as the events occurred. And in the immediate hours thereafter and the days and the weeks that are going by. So that has been really life-affirming in the midst of such a tragedy, such a horrendous occurrence, to see how people have rallied together and haven't waited for others to come to their aid or assistance, but have thought we need to be industrious, use our initiative and create a positive impact. And just to see that on the night and as the days went on has been really, really life-affirming and beautiful. And without trying to sound too virtuous or pious, to play a part on a very tiny, 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 tiny level in that means I feel I can say something to my children. Yeah, we saw this tragedy unfold, but we tried to do something about it within the small scope that we had.
Did your children kind of have an understanding of it? And you have quite fairly young children, right?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I have 3 children. My youngest is a baby. My middle child is a 3.5-year-old, and my oldest one just turned 8. So for the older 2, it has been something very realistic, especially for my oldest child, who's a hypersensitive artist like myself.
Right.
So without going into too much details because of safeguarding and whatnot, she's educated not far from Grenfell Tower and whatnot. So there are children in her school who lived in the building or nearby. I believe there were 3 families from her school who were made homeless in the tragedy. I think, although don't quote me, there was a family that had attended the school that had passed away. And then for her, it was something really, really traumatizing and upsetting, especially because of her constitution and her disposition. And then her best friend at school, her auntie actually lived in the tower, and all thanks to God, managed to escape. But that little girl seemed to cope in a lot more resilient manner than my daughter. But I think that's more just to do with my daughter's own she's an empath, so she really feels what other people are feeling. With my middle child, who's 3.5, it's particularly upsetting. Less so for him because it's still an abstraction he doesn't get because he's still quite young. But there were 2 children in his nursery who were killed and their mums. So there's quite a famous video of the young lady trapped in a tower block at the top of Grenfell Town. She was remembering God.
Yes, I saw that video.
Yeah, so that lady, God have mercy on her. It was her and her 2 children. They were involved with the nursery my son goes to. So that has been really, really upsetting and traumatizing. For him, he didn't really understand what had gone. It was only when he saw the tower for the first time that he could actually associate something that was an abstraction with something visceral and tangible. But yeah, it's been deep. But ask anyone we know in the area, in the locality, everyone, if you're moving in certain circles, is going to know someone who's in the block or in the surrounding buildings and whatnot. So it's just immediate for all of us, really. But we just try and stay positive.
What's the feeling in the community now? From obviously weeks have gone on now. Is it still very much? Can you feel that the tragedy was very recent? Obviously, it hasn't been forgotten about. Has over the weeks? Is things settling?
It's something that's still very.
There was so much anger. There was
Of course.
people were going crazy. There was so much anger. It was almost like things could have even turned into a riot because there was so much anger and frustration going through London. I mean, are those feelings? Has it cooled off now?
Thankfully, praise God, nothing did kick off and whatnot. And I think there's a real concerted effort from the community to say, look, we don't want this to be hijacked by people who are trying to use it as an outlet for their other issues or rage or what have you. Although that righteous anger is still manifest. So even there was a meeting at the town hall last night, and one young lady who I know vaguely, digitally acquainted with, shall we say, was present, and she was just articulating the case study of one family there were 5 members of the family who had been obviously relocated from the fire, and they were staying in a double bed in a hotel 5 weeks afterwards. So there's still a lot of things to be done. Yeah. And there's still a lot of pain and anger and hurt in the approach to doing things hasn't been as thorough and as, what's the word I'm looking for, compassionate as it could be. Obviously,
it must be extremely difficult to also be so thorough when there's such a vast amount of people that you're trying to kind of rehouse and I suppose be empathetic towards in such a immediate time frame, because everybody does need help immediately, don't they? And
it's almost like it should be prioritized, and it should be
true.
After the tragedy happening, it's almost like, well, you need to make up for what's happened and prioritize that over almost everything.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I definitely don't think dealing with these people in a slack and non-compassionate way is.
No. I wouldn't say that. No. I'm not saying there's excuses.
I'm just saying if that's no. I'm just saying if that's what's going on and they're slack about it and there's no compassion, it's like, come on, you've got some making up to do anyway. So don't make it any worse.
Yeah, I would just to add to what you guys are saying. Definitely, I mean, you can't begin to imagine the logistical scale of the undertaking. So it might be easy for me as just one lay person to offer commentary on it. Yeah. If you're not necessarily in that organization, having to handle all the different components and resources and human power and budget, etc., I can't begin to imagine how difficult that project is. Right. However, obviously things can be done better. So this instance that I was citing of the family of 5 sleeping in a double bed, obviously no one's expecting to be rehoused in the Ritz. However, if the council does have a surplus budget of 297 million, I don't think it's unreasonable that even if it's just a travel lodge that people are
5 people in one double bed.
Yeah,
that is insane. On. Yeah, that is insane.
So I think something like that is unacceptable.
Yeah,
of course.
And it should be articulated and voiced. These things are, hopefully going to improve, but it's a massive undertaking. But in the community, there's so much going on, so many individual projects, whether it's art therapy, which, all praise to God, our family are involved in, or maybe there's, massage, acupuncture, things like that, counseling, drumming workshops. There's just so many little projects that the community have provided themselves, people with their own experience and expertise coming through and from all walks of life. So it's really beautiful on that front just to see what's going on. Even Ackland Village, 2:00 every day, just say, look, if you want to come through, have a cup of tea and just talk, there's people there to assist. So all these micro endeavors build up to something, hopefully, which is big and impactful and really makes a difference for those who have experienced that trauma and are still experiencing the aftershocks of that trauma.
What do you think they're going to do with the tower now? Because driving back from work, most days you can see it from here, and right now it's still erected and it's just a burnt tower, isn't it? Are they planning to demolish it?
I don't know. It's something that every time you see it is just so spooky and creepy and disturbing. And I'm an adult, so again, I imagine what it's like for children. Like the first time my daughter saw it close up, she was going for a swimming lesson, and she wouldn't get in the pool. She was really, really upset just from having seen it for half an hour, 45 minutes afterwards. So then to imagine what it's like for people who are actually there or living right nearby, and having that constant stark reminder in your face of the horrors that unfolded. I'm not sure what the plan is. I imagine they're still doing a lot of work in the tower and whatnot, so we'll have to see how it pans out.
Because it represents so much more than just a burnt
Yeah,
building, doesn't
definitely.
it? When you look at it, it's spooky. It's really, really spooky.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the poem that I put out a few weeks after, the opening lines were, "This is our ground zero, a Hurricane Katrina." And I didn't mean that in a flippant or a belittling manner to the individuals in the United States who experienced those tragedies. But the Hurricane Katrina reference was more to do with how years of neglect and disdain for residents and what's the word I'm looking for? Negligence resulted in a tragedy that affected poor people,
Right.
and poor people from minority ethnic backgrounds, as was the case in Hurricane Katrina. And then the ground zero reference, obviously they're very different circumstances, but it's referring to that man-made building, that edifice that is a reminder, an epitaph for those who passed away. So it's something that really is just very visceral and in your face, and a reminder of the tragedy that unfolded. So yeah, it's a painful thing to see, and I can but imagine what it was like for people who actually, survived or had family members who were lost in it. So for me, just as a sort of outsider to it, just seeing it, it's unsettling. I can but imagine what it's like for those who are actually in it. So we shall see what pans out.
Directly after the incident happening, and for weeks afterwards, there was a lot of speculation and a lot of comments and conspiracy, and people saying various things about inside job and all this kind of these different kind of accusations at the government. And those kind of talks, are they still people still talking like that within the community? Because that was very much there was people with some real powerful things they were saying, which and the main media weren't putting these things out, but they were on social media. They were going crazy, people reposting it and stuff.
I've not personally come into those conversations, but maybe that's more a reflection of who I'm around or what I do or how I think. I had a line in the poem originally that sort of referenced the whole conspiracy theory thing, and it's interesting because when I was younger, I was really, really into conspiracy theories.
How did the line go?
I can't remember it actually, but I'll try and paraphrase it. So basically what I was referring to was that if in your day-to-day life you were taught or shown or experienced a lack of compassion, care, concern from institutions, authorities, people in power, people with privilege, money, and the decisions they make, the actions they take result in you having inferior housing, inferior healthcare, be it hospitals that are not invested in properly, or doctor's surgeries where you've got long waiting times, or you can't see a doctor readily, whereby the schools you send your children to are next to busy roads where there's a lot of pollution, whereby services that were provided previously by the local authority get cut because of fiscal constraints. So although the demand is still there in the community amongst people to access these services, they can no longer access them because they're not there. If you had money, you would be able to get them because other affluent people are still buying into these services and whatnot. So if on that day-to-day basis, basically you're taught that your life has less value, not just financially, but holistically, shall we say, and that you're almost an afterthought, and then this impacts upon your quality of life, whether it's work, education, leisure, health, and tying into that last point, that it actually gradually reduces not just your quality of life, but your life expectancy, for instance. You're living in a polluted city and you're dying at a younger age than someone living maybe in a more rural area with better services, etc., or in a more affluent part of town. Then it's not a great stretch of the imagination, or it's not a massive leap to go from that to go from seeing that banality of evil, that corporate negligence, that collateral damage in neoliberalism, as accidental, negligence, indifference. So to go from that to seeing it as purposeful. So it's not just a case of these people in positions of management or decision making or policy making. It's not just a case of them not really caring about us. It's that they hate us and they want to get rid of us. So it's not accidental social cleansing or de facto social cleansing. It's purposeful. It's malign. Yeah. It's with intent.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily want to say what the correct set of circumstances are, but I can definitely see how it's no great leap to go from that to that. And if you're then someone who has experienced a great tragedy, family members, friends have passed away, you feel upset, you're angry, then these conspiracy theories, for want of a better term, might provide an explanation, a more logical explanation than, wow, so people just don't care. It's like, they actually want to get rid of us. Mm. And sometimes, I'm not saying in this instance, but often as human beings, we're looking for purpose, we're looking for meaning, and to situate ourselves in a cosmic battle between good and evil is somehow or often more fulfilling and satisfying than saying, wow, this is just a quirk of fate or an accident or human error. So I can understand where people's pain, or I can begin, I wouldn't say definitely, but I can begin to understand where people's pain and hurt comes from. Yeah. And why they would maybe believe some of these narratives. Yeah.
Wow.
That's a good answer.
It is.
The poem voiced it in 2 lines.
Well, speaking about poems, you yourself, so Tommy Evans, you're a poet, you're a spoken word artist. Yeah. And you are also you're currently doing your PhD, right?
Yeah, nearly finishing it.
You finished your
not quite. I'm on the 4th iteration of my thesis. So how it works?
Where's your PhD in again?
Education is a simple answer. The long answer is 80,000 words, or 81,544 words, or something like that.
We'll stick to education then. Yeah. But okay, wow, subhanAllah. So you're currently doing a PhD, and I mean, what you're known for is your poetry and being a spoken word poet. And you recently performed at the Enlight conference that we were all at together, and we all did. And there was a very a beautiful reaction to your performance.
Oh, thank you.
There's a beautiful reaction to your performance. And a slightly surprised, everyone's slightly surprised at your performance. Reason being, I would definitely not say that anybody dislikes your performances generally. Mm-mm. But there is a big difference between the performances that I've seen you at and then the one that you did at the Enlight conference. And it almost felt like, generally, you're quite... perhaps it almost looked like generally at general places I've seen you perform poetry at, you seem quite restricted, and when you performed at Enlight, you actually performed, and it was almost like, oh, this is what he does. Like I saw a performance, not a man standing behind a microphone reciting poetry that he's written. I saw a man performing his art, and it was so much more beautiful, and it made so much more sense what you did, and it was the first time. And I've seen you now, and I've done at least 2 or 3 events with you, and I've seen you at 3, 4, 5 events, and I never have I seen you like that, where you take center stage, you're walking around the stage, you're raising your voice, you're bringing your voice down, using all different kind of techniques, and it just felt so much more right, and the reaction for it was so much better than I have heard the reaction at previous shows of yours. Like I said, not that I've heard negative reaction to previous shows, but just that, how sick was Tommy's bit, like the way he did it. So would you say that is actually how you would like to perform your poetry, and why is it that you don't normally do it like that?
Okay, that's a fantastic question. First of all, kudos to you guys for the event you put on. It was great, really productive, great lineup, really inspiring talks and presentations.
Thank you so much.
So in part, the nature of my performance was mediated or established by how you guys had set up the event. So because of the vibe that you had created, it allowed me to go out and get a 7-0 victory, as opposed to certain events that I perform at where the nature of the venue, the nature of the seating layout, the nature of the acoustics of the space, the nature of the organizers, the nature of who is attending the event, the nature of what is being discussed at the event will determine how I'm going to perform. So you've tended to see me perform, shall we say, at more religiously orientated events. And that's one crowd, a demographic I share my creativity with. But I do a lot of my creativity in the mainstream as well. And those spaces are very, very different. So what you witnessed that day was how I deliver it in mainstream spaces or in a poetry space or in an art space. So how would I articulate it where it doesn't come across condescending or overly critical? The nature of those religiously inclined events means that I believe, this is just my personal impression, interpretation, philosophizing, so I stand to be corrected if I am wrong. I believe that the British Muslim identity is still evolving. Right. It's a complex thing. And one of the spaces in which it's still evolving, finding itself, learning, developing is when it comes to recreation, social events, entertainment, etc. It's still a very, very new phenomenon. And maybe it's 10, 15 years old, something like that. Whereas we're just looking at the BBC yesterday releasing the salaries of their presenters, their entertainers. Yeah. The BBC's been in existence for 90 years, almost 100 years, something like that. So it has a long track record. So these religious spaces are still finding themselves, especially when it comes to entertainment. And in my humble estimation, there is a dichotomy. Does that do that? Ding! You know, my...
Yeah, dichotomy. You're going to have to expand on that word for me.
Oh, I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that.
Sam, what does dichotomy mean?
Yeah, ask him for any of that.
He'll know it.
I'm going to top of my head, to be fair.
Go on, Sam.
Sam,
come on, just tell us. Stop holding it back. Come on, Sam. What's dichotomy again, Sam?
What is it?
It's almost like a contradiction, a conflict, a tension.
You described it so much better than I would have done.
An irregularity.
Yeah.
So in my humble estimation, when it comes to British Muslim religious events, often they're organized by charities,
right?
Who are doing fantastic work helping people at home and abroad. But their main objective is to fundraise,
right,
to get money for their noble cause, and also maybe to share some reminders of people of religious virtues, of how to contribute to society, to become better human beings and whatnot. The objective or remit is not really the cultivation of the arts. And, God have mercy on none of these organizers really have a background in events management, entertainment, media, communication.
That's a very good point.
So they're approaching an arena or an industry lacking experience and expertise, but obviously doing their best and putting on these events. And they're not really that impassioned about the arts. So when a performer is hired to share their craft at such an event, it's more so as a hook to get audiences in, not to celebrate artistry, but in the hope that these audience members will contribute to their charitable endeavor.
Just to stop you there, how does that make you feel? Does that make you feel used?
That's a very good question. I would articulate it thus. I'm a professional. It's a business at the end of the day. And even a Hollywood entertainer or a musician or a sports star will have a certain quota of jobs or commitments as a professional that they have to do that maybe they're not super impassioned about, right, but it's part and parcel of the job. So Roger Federer will enjoy winning Wimbledon, but then he's going to have to do the interviews afterwards. He's going to have to do a promotional piece for a sponsor. There's going to be some corporate commitments, so on and so forth. So there'll be parts of your job that you enjoy more and parts that are just have to accept this is the nature of being a professional in this industry. So when it comes to these sorts of events, I have a dispassionate pragmatism towards it. So although it's not necessarily something that's going to inspire me as an artist, I can't complain in that it's a professional booking. It's something that...
It's bringing in the peas.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, you're also working with organizations that are doing good, socially responsible work. So at the end of the day, however little you might be getting inspired by it, you're doing some form of good for society. Right. So at the very least, you can look at it on that level. Well, I'm getting paid to inspire people to give charity, to get involved in philanthropic work or activism. That's, there's worse things that you could be doing with your time. Obviously, as an artist, it's not that fulfilling, especially, and this is the dichotomy that really intrigues me, when I think there's a pressure to perform piety amongst religious crowds. And I imagine this isn't unique to the British Muslim experience. I imagine it could be found amongst other faith communities. So that when you go into an explicitly or overtly religious space, there are expectancies of how one conducts oneself. Just as if you're in the Houses of Parliament, you're not going to be dressed like this. You'll probably have your suit and tie on and speaking in standardized English rather than multicultural London vernacular. However, when there's an element to these events that is entertainment and audiences feel this social policing on how they should respond, it creates a really, really weird vibe, which means the audience don't enjoy it in the intuitive way they would outside of that space. So for instance, I saw some footage the other day of the cast of The Lion King sharing one of their songs, a cappella style, in an airport lounge. And the natural response of all the passengers waiting to catch their plane was just spontaneous applause because the cast are just so incredible. And there's one where they had like a face-off between the cast of Aladdin and the cast of The Lion King. So it's that intuitive response to excellence in whatever discipline. Just as I mentioned Roger Federer, if you see him hitting the ball between his legs, immediately it's going to be, wow, it's sick. Or you're going to see Messi or Neymar do some skill. It's going to be an intuitive reaction. In overtly religious spaces, this doesn't happen because there's a pressure on how to perform piety. So one doesn't want to be seen to be extreme in one's emotional response to something that one would normally intuitively react to. So if someone's performing and they're super talented, outside that space, they're probably like, that's bad, what? Sick. But they're like, am I allowed to clap? Mashallah. And so it's that social schizophrenia that intrigues me because those same people, I can't wholly guarantee, but I am 99.9% certain are consuming mainstream media outside of that space. They're watching films, TV, music, sports, etc., and will respond to it in a completely intuitive way. But then place them in that space, then there's the whole, how do I react? I don't want people to think this about me. And it becomes less about God consciousness and piety and taqwa, but more about regulating conduct.
Do you think that it's that they're trying to perform piety, or do you think that it's that by being in a space like that, perhaps they come to the realization that this is right, this is how it should be, this is how I should be, and they're trying to not only respect the space that they're in, but also improve themselves as a person? And what I'm trying to say is, if we were to judge everybody by what they do when they're not, when their spirituality isn't the highest, then we'd all be doomed, right? So what I'm trying to say is it possible that it's not that they're performing piety in these spaces, but they're just genuinely and naturally trying to become a more pious person?
That's a very positive, beautiful response to my cynicism.
No. It's just. I mean, I'm not saying I disagree with what you're saying. I'm just trying to give an ulterior.
Yeah, it's very healthy to give the opposite view because you don't want to become too self-assured and rigid in your thinking, whereby you're not willing to look at an issue from another angle. It's a very healthy way that you've looked at it.
But you don't think it's realistic?
No, I was going to compliment you and say I think that again shows, the excellence of the company they're in, that you're looking at something that could be perceived as a negative and you're still turning it into a positive. So we're taking an idea and saying, all right, well, people might be responding in a way, but it's actually coming from a good place. And maybe I didn't articulate it as well as I could have. I think it definitely does come from a good place. And that performed choice of words that I use, maybe that conveys a certain chicanery or disingenuous, which I don't necessarily mean it in a fake, hypocritical way. We're social animals and we respond to the people around us, and we're entirely inconsistent. For me, as an adult, as someone operating within a spiritual framework, what I'm trying to accomplish or attain is some form of consistency, both in the public and private domain. And I call it a spiritual maturity, so that there's less of a disconnect between the private persona and the public persona. Obviously, we all have our dark secrets, and I'm not going to reveal any of mine on camera. But it's more an expression of my intrigue. I'm just genuinely fascinated at this dichotomy.
I think you're right. It is fascinating. The only reason I was saying that is because I was trying to look at it from my perspective.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And from my perspective, as I think one thing that you just said hits the nail exactly on the head, and it's that we are inconsistent. The human being in general is inconsistent. We're all inconsistent is the best way of explaining it. But I know that when I'm in situations where I probably I'm in a space where I probably shouldn't be there, compared to when I'm in a space which is quite religious. When I'm in the space that's quite religious, I feel more like this feels right and this is how I should be. And when I'm in a space that I know I half shouldn't be in, there is a level of guilt there. And so what I would say is that if I'm talking about me as a person, I'll probably say that if someone wants to watch my life, they'd say that's extremely inconsistent what Faisal's doing or the spaces he's at and that kind of stuff. But and I'd agree that it is very inconsistent, but I'd say that doesn't mean that when I'm in maybe overtly religious spaces that I am trying to hide what I'm like outside of there. It's more like when I'm there, I'm like, oh, this is right.
Yeah.
You know. So the second thing I want to say is that when asking the question about why you perform differently in different spaces, I'm sure maybe I cut you off and we didn't get to the answer, but you're mentioning a lot about like how people react to it, but I would love to hear about why you perform differently. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As opposed to how the audience reacts to it.
Yeah, sure.
Or is it because of how the audience reacts to it? That's why you perform differently.
Exactly, and it comes back to that social schizophrenia in those religious events I'm describing, because we still haven't obtained a level of spiritual maturity, confidence, and comfort where we can be in a safe space, right, and respond in an intuitive manner that isn't excessive either way. So it's not excessive in impermissibility, for want of a better term, licentiousness.
I know exactly what you mean, yeah.
Or excessive in almost a robotic response where we're denying ourselves to a point that we don't need to. So I think it's still an evolving project. And obviously we can't expect things to change overnight. It just intrigues and fascinates me that people do react very differently in those spaces. And I don't think it's necessarily healthy. And I think it's also very much a microcosm of where we're at. So I think when you travel extensively, which all thanks to God I have done, you go to other countries and maybe you've performed in similar spaces and seen how people react, you realize there is an alternative. It doesn't have to be this way. But if people are accustomed to a narrow corridor of what they perceive to be religiosity or God consciousness, and really it's a vast canyon, and there's much scope within that canyon that has been outlined by more knowledgeable people than ourselves throughout history. It ceases to become an abstraction. So you have a tangible, visceral frame of reference. All right, so you can actually put on an event, keep it within the bounds of permissibility, and have a vibe where it's not excessive either way.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think people are still struggling with that in overtly religious public spaces in a way that they're not in their own private lives. And I don't mean in terms of consuming things that are off key, but just as, maybe they're watching a film or a TV program and they respond to it. Maybe it's something humorous, not inappropriate or vulgar, but it's just something genuinely humorous. And they intuitively laugh, whereas you put them into that religious space. That's like, can I laugh? And it's not healthy for our progression, I think. 100%. So as a performer, as a creative professional, to go now into that space and share your craft, which you bleed for, you sweat for, you lose sleep for. Oh, actually, I don't lose sleep. I like my sleep. But you really exert yourself for, and you're getting back nothing. And the medium determines the message. So it's a dialogical experience. It's not me punching some numbers on a computer, which has a certain ambience. This is entertainment. So the whole notion of entertainment is predicated upon performer and crowd and a relationship between the two where there's give and take. We communicate with each other. We respond to each other. It's reflexive. And you're getting nothing from the audience. You know, if you were to take a comedian, and I'm trying to think, if you take Kevin Hart and put him in front of a crowd and they don't laugh at his jokes, after a while it's going to get a bit demoralized, and you're working and you know the level of your talent and you're trying to coax something out of the crowd and there's just a few
yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Right.
And then it's just like, what is the point of my giving my all and I'm getting nothing back? And it's not that a response that has to feed the ego, where you're a narcissistic individual whose emotional well-being is predicated and validated by other human beings. It's just, this is the nature of the format it's a two-way response, and you're getting nothing. Then there's very little point in going for that 7-0 victory. So for me, I'm just going to go for the 1-0 victory. Be professional, say my words, do it eloquently, composed, show respect to the audience, support the cause, encourage them to get involved in the activities. But that's it.
Right.
I'm not there to get a vibe or to really, really.
I respect that.
But then going.
That's a very experienced answer.
Yeah, because I've been doing this since I was little. So, and you know, from my time in the music industry, I learned that, and it was much more pronounced for me then in terms of my need for that response from audience, in a way that as a more spiritually mature and physically mature person now, I'm less dependent for that validation. But I think the second part to your question was about which audiences I perform to, or why do I do it, or
why
did I answer
you
it? Sorry for the long monologue.
No, it's fine.
You're a good listener, bro.
The general question: why did you perform at Enlight the way you did?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So because I knew the nature of the crowd is going to be younger.
Right.
They're going to be a bit more open-minded. Because I'm in the company of such cool, fashionable, hip, good-looking guys. Then
How do you see that?
Flattery will get me everywhere. That there's scope to do that. It wasn't one of those events where basically the organizer put it on free course meal fundraiser. I said the other thing, food. Because the expectancies are so low for that religious crowd in terms of lawful halal entertainment, it is just eating. That's the extent of the ambition, aspiration, imagination. What can we do to socialize? Eat. That's it. So when you go to these events and it's free course meal, motivational speech, poetry, nasheed sing, people just waiting to eat. And often you might have the entertainer put on whilst people are eating. And once people are eating, they're not going to pay any attention to your words of wisdom.
Yeah.
So again,
I've done events like that.
Yeah, but again, that comes down to the organizers having no background in event management, organization, or any interest in what is actually being said on stage.
As someone on stage, it's so off-putting when people are not giving you their attention, or at least pretending to give you their attention, innit?
Yeah.
Especially if they're eating.
Yeah,
it's a whole new level.
Completely.
Cutlery and crockery banging about, people talking over, like it's very demoralizing.
And I think a lot of it is about just inculcating basic etiquettes amongst people.
Respect, yeah.
Yeah, so if you go to Wimbledon, then you have to be silent whilst the players are about to hit the ball and all this sort of stuff. You can cheer and clap afterwards, but just respect it. If you're doing a poetry performance in a mainstream space. You know, I remember going to one event, I was seeing Sully Breaks perform in October last year. And the organizer was like, you guys have to be silent whilst he's performing. And because it's a arty sort of crowd, they appreciate the crowd, they absolute respect. And then performs once he's finished. So there's ways to do it. It's not that difficult. It's just slowly changing people's expectancies and conduct. So you have to be patient. However, this depends on how much patience you have. And for me, as someone who has a very high estimation of my talent and ability,
Which is good.
Yeah, definitely. There's that fine line between confidence and arrogance.
Where would you say you are on that line? Really?
More Kanye.
I wouldn't. I've not got. Have you got an arrogant vibe from Tommy? I've not got that vibe.
I disguise it fantastically. Right. I'm a good actor. Every artist has an ego, but the key is keeping that ego in check and learning how to demarcate and partition so that you can enjoy the love you get from the audience, the reaction, their enthusiasm, the support, the consideration, their care, their cheering, whatever it is. But also you realize that is not the be all and end all. And I can't be dependent on that to feel good about myself. Yeah, it's nice in the moment to have that little rush, but that doesn't mean I'm some amazing human being. You know, your mum, your wife, your children, your brother know all about your best friends, know all about your shortcomings, your business partners, etc. That audience are just seeing you at the apex of your humanity for that moment, that few seconds or minute or hour. They're seeing you perform all the best features of your personality. So you can't have too much of an investment in that because you know, man, I'm going to go home and then when I get up in the morning, my breath's going to stink. You know, I'm going to have bloodshot eyes. You know what I mean? I remember reading an interview with Hugh Jackman, Wolverine.
Right.
And
his workout regime was mad.
Crazy, mad inspirational.
He didn't drink water for 36 hours before shooting scenes.
What?
Yeah,
what? To make sure he's ripped?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. That's dangerous, bro.
It is, bro.
Wow. Anyway, Hugh Jackman had recently been voted most attractive gentleman alive.
Really?
Yeah, it was expressed in another term, but I
think our friend Sam Palmer wasn't in that.
I know. Glaring omission. Anyway, yourself as well. You guys would be vying for the top 3 places. I think I'd be sort of like in the lower thousands. Anyway.
Wow.
I make up for it in personality and charisma. Modesty as well.
Words.
Yes, one tries. And he went home and his wife was like, oh, so you won most handsome chap alive, huh? She's like, go take the garbage out.
Wow.
And he was like, yeah, if for 1 second I started to get hyped about, I've just been voted the man. And then he's like, my wife just...
Would you say your wife is you have a similar relationship with your
yeah.
Without going too deep into it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I laugh at myself a lot anyway. And
I think it's very important that I think it's very important if you have a wife and you're living with her and you spend, it's a person that you can be the most open with. It's very important that they're not like your fan. Now they're able to appreciate. I'm not saying they shouldn't like what you do, but I feel like if they're a fan of you, it's going to be a problem. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, completely.
They have to bring you back down, man. And
yeah, definitely. You have to bring yourself back down as well. That's the thing. So that's the thing I was sort of articulating for that. One of the objectives of this lifelong project of betterment, whatever your spiritual, religious, political disposition is constant improvement. And one of the keys is consistency. So it's those small, good, positive habits that you practice day in, day out that accumulate into a big overall grand package. So you should be holding yourself to account. You should be doing a self-audit every day, being to use the parlance of my PhD, a reflexive practitioner. And really asking yourself challenging questions. Could I have done that better? Did I make a faux pas there? So I think it starts first and foremost with the self and then having critical friends within one's immediate circle. But I tell you another thing that really, and I think my esteemed colleague on the right can testify to this as well. One thing that really helps ground you is having children. And what happens when you have children is that you cease to be at the center of your life narrative. You are now in the periphery of the universe. Whereas before you were the sun in the solar system with the planets orbiting around in the center of the galaxy. Now you're at the edge of the universe because your child or children are at that sun, metaphorically and literally speaking, at the center of the solar system. Your life revolves around them in that you now have the grand project of cultivating another life. And whatever mistakes you made with your own life, you can't get away with another life that's more precious than your own. So that keeps you grounded as well. So again, if you have those delusions of grandeur and then you come home and your kids, jumping on you or vomiting on you or you're changing nappies, then you can't take yourself that seriously. You realize there is a life outside of what I'm doing. Have you guys seen the Cristiano Ronaldo film?
No.
That's a really, really deep film, man. Really deep film. And you can see some of the things that drive him to his excellence, although he doesn't necessarily articulate it explicitly himself, but maybe members of his family or inner circle. But there's a fascinating bit in it where his mum is going to the doctors to buy some prescription drugs because she gets so stressed out watching him play football. And he's there having a phone call with her and he's like, Mum, it's just a game. And it's not life or death. And I was like, wow, for someone who is at the top of his profession, one of the greatest footballers of all time, so inspirational, his work ethic, how he stays healthy, positive approach to football, has given himself entirely to the game, the level of commitment he's had to improve himself, to stay at the top for so many years. And he's telling his mum, it's just a game.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And you can see, well, maybe, you know, he's a dad as well. And he was a dad at a relatively young age. By mainstream standards, I think he was like 24, 25. He's just had some more children, isn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe for him, and there's quite a few scenes with him and his son, and you can really see how maybe that grounds him.
Am I right in thinking no one's ever seen his wife?
The mother to his...
the mother.
Yeah, or
right.
mothers.
Not his wife.
So he has a girlfriend.
Right.
And everyone knows who she is.
Right.
And so basically he uses... Oh, we were going to talk about this in current events, weren't we, Red? But should we save it or should we...
No, it's come up now.
Yeah? No, let's save it.
Let's save it. Let's talk about it later. We'll talk about it now.
Let's save it. Talk about it in 6 minutes. Basically, I don't know what the reason is. I think there's been speculation that he's a very rich man and he basically wants to be a single father. Yeah, so what he does is he's got 3 kids now. He's just had twins, I believe, and he's got an older a son. They're all his children, I believe, but he's used surrogate mothers for them. And he's also kept the mother private from the world and also from the children. So the children don't even know who their mother is, I believe. Yeah. And reason is, he hasn't. I don't think he's actually explained the reason. Some people speculate it's because obviously he's very, very wealthy and he doesn't want to maybe. I don't know if like he has commitment issues or like he doesn't want to like if anything ever happened in the future and then like he'd have to pay like child support. I don't know how it works, whatever. But essentially, I don't want to like start making rumors that don't exist or anything like that. But essentially, what he has said in his own defense is that there's many children who have been brought up in single parent households. Some people's mothers die, some people's fathers die, and the other parent has had to bring them up. So that's one of the things that he's recently said in an interview to defend himself. I don't know if any of you guys know any more information about it, but he does have a girlfriend. I believe his kids aren't.
That's the first I've ever heard of that situation. Just then, I saw a quote online or something the other day about the fact that who he is and the fact that no one's ever seen the mother of his children. Right. But I didn't realise it was as intricate as that.
So I believe that he.
Is that. To explain that, he's got 3 children.
He's got 3 children, and I believe
2 of them are recently twins.
Right,
and one of them was the boy who I've seen a picture of recently. He looks.
He looks like early teens now.
He's basically made the decision he wants to be a single father. So he's had the children not as in a family,
correct.
But so he can have his own child. But he has got a girlfriend.
This is the thing that's like odd. He has got a girlfriend. I believe he's always had this girlfriend for a while.
That everyone knows.
Yeah, she's known.
She's out there.
She's out there. Like as in not. I don't know if she's famous or anything, but she's known like to be his girlfriend. That everyone knows the names of. But I believe the children aren't hers, and I think she's must be cool with it, but I don't know if I don't.
I mean, we're talking about it in a very normal way. How do people respond to it?
Not great.
Because this is the first time I've ever heard this.
So have I. I mean, I was extremely. Do you have the article read?
Okay.
Shall we? I was going to say let's go into current events anyway.
Okay.
Should we go into current events and just use this as the first one?
Yeah, please, because it's the first time hearing this. And this is like.
I don't know why I've even intro current events now, but you have our current events segment, Tommy.
Do you know what it was? I'm just choking on some water. So
every podcast we do a segment with our producer Red called Current Events. Basically, we speak about some of the current events happening right now.
Yeah.
Cool. So without any further ado, let's get into current events. Current events. Right, let's go.
Why you guys got nice singing voices? Justin Bieber, watch
Can you freestyle a poem about current events real quick?
Current events make me tense. To survive the difficulties, you're gonna need strength. Chip.
That's it. So have you got the article about it?
I'm gonna get one. I want to get a reliable one.
Yeah.
The first one that I have.
No fake news.
The Sun, so I'm gonna avoid.
Yeah.
I believe
You got
he
your mic on,
raises
yeah?
the children with his mum.
Reg, you got your mic on?
So his mum is
I do know.
active in there.
So his mum.
Yeah, she's active in supporting him raising the children.
Yeah.
So he has a very close relationship with his mum.
I think there was
You're into your football. You must have known about this.
no. I have heard about. I think when you have a wife, you start hearing about things that you're not generally interested in. You weren't interested in before, and so now like I get told a lot of things that I didn't know about before. But yeah, so from what I remember, there was speculation that the children were his girlfriend's children, like that they had them together. But maybe then it was shown to not be true. I'm not sure. I don't know how.
So
this is working.
no one officially knows the situation. It's just a bit.
No. I think it's confirmed that he's used surrogate mothers for all of his children.
Yeah, so it's confirmed that he paid someone
Right.
to be a surrogate mother to have his babies.
So but it is his sperm.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're a surrogate mother to Cristiano Ronaldo, then yeah, you need his sperm.
So it's made in a test tube, the baby, and it's
Is that
placed
confirmed
into
as well?
I believe the way it works is it is in a test tube. I don't know whether.
But is that confirmed? That's how he did it.
No, it just says.
Because I don't want to speculate.
I believe it is.
Based on what evidence?
I read it.
From what?
I mean,
evidence?
I'm never going to get evidence like from the horse's mouth, but it's what I read in an article. Yeah.
So he never even knew the mother, really.
No, he did.
Okay.
I know, right. So this is what I read. Yeah. So this isn't my guessing. What I've read
Okay.
is that it's made in a lab with his sperm, and then it's a surrogate mother that has come forward that he's chosen, then has the baby, like does the pregnancy with the baby and gives birth to the child. Who the mother is, whether he knows her, whether he doesn't know her, whether it's a random like woman across the world who he's paid, or whether it's like someone like in his like external family, that is unknown, and that he has decided to keep private. So unless she comes out with it, do you know what I mean? Like I doubt. But then I'm sure he's given her. Like, I'm sure there's contracts in place and there's like money and all this kind of stuff.
So that's but there's 3 children. So and the twins are fairly recent.
Twins are very recent.
That's a different.
A few days ago, I think.
That's a different mother.
Nobody knows, I think.
Nobody knows whether it's the same person or a different person that's been the surrogate.
And this is all just because his intention. We don't obviously know.
The intention we don't know. The intention we don't know. His defense when being asked about his intention, his like reply was like, "Loads of people have single parents." So do you know what I mean? Which is a fact. You know, people do have single parents. Like having raising single parents. So basically, he's a dad, and technically the kids don't have a mom. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's why I'm a bit like almost taken back by.
I mean, I'm just as taken back by it as you. Yeah,
I don't really know if I don't really want to make a comment on it because it's not really my place to. But
no, but you could comment and say that it's a bit confusing.
I'm taken back by it.
Yeah.
That's his commentary.
It's almost just goes like I just bring everything back to the religion of Islam and how Allah intended things to be. And obviously, I know people do have single parents, and there's children come from families just raised by a single parent, and fantastic. But in the ideal scenario, a family is a mother and a father and a child, isn't it? Because that's the ideal scenario. So it's almost just kind of going against it, going like doing it in a different way. It's just how that works out in the long term. I'm not sure.
Did it say anything else, Red, on the article like that? Like any other information?
It's kind of kept it a bit
vague.
Yeah, vague. Yeah. It hasn't said anything besides that he's paid someone to be a surrogate mother, and he's given details of when and where the births happened.
He did.
Yeah, and
what did he say?
I mean, this article, the one I was reading before this was from 2010, so that was his first son,
Okay.
and this one is about the second one.
From what I know,
I don't think
it's very surprising that for one of the most famous people in the world, he's managed to keep so much of it secret. It's good, isn't it? He must have amazing lawyers who keep good secrets and very trustworthy surrogate mothers.
In the film, he has a very close-knit team, and one of the things that again is intriguing is how private he is in his personal life. So he has that line of demarcation between the football world, where he's obviously very well known, very popular, loved, admired, respected, but then he has a very small circle around him.
Really?
Yeah, and it's interesting
that.
because his dad died as well when he was still relatively young. I believe his dad died of alcoholism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What age do you know?
Yeah, he was in his 50s, I think.
How old was
Ronaldo? Was
Ronaldo?
in his early
young,
20s.
I think he had just moved to Man United.
Yeah, he was in his early 20s.
Okay.
So his agent is almost like a
fatherly figure.
Yeah, father figure. And he says he's, quite almost like an isolated, lonely person outside of football, that he doesn't really hang out with the football community per se. So it's a very, very interesting
on
film.
camera, on film, he's got a very deep relationship with his family and with his son.
Yeah.
I don't know
completely.
how, I can't comment on off camera.
Yeah, he seems to be
from the
like
film,
really.
Yeah.
You can tell that, as much as he's made his drive to be the best player in the world, he has his family in the agenda as well.
That is beautiful. He
Which
cares
is quite
about his family a
beautiful.
lot.
Yeah. Do you know, not to essentialize cultures and whatnot, but some of my family's Portuguese as well, so I have a vague inkling of the culture there and whatnot, and how maybe it differs a bit from British society. And obviously you can't generalize and oversimplify, but
all Portuguese people.
But yeah, from what I've seen, it is a bit more family orientated and family friendly, their society, their Spain and whatnot, than maybe here. But this is culture is not a noun, it's a verb.
Yeah.
That's a sick thing I read once. So it's something that's constantly evolving, reproducing, taking new directions, shapes and forms and whatnot. So
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's never stagnant. As Nas said, always forwards are moving, never backwards.
It was revealed though that the surrogate mothers was on the west coast of the US.
That's right.
So
American mums.
American mums. Well, not mums. American mum for the recent one.
For the recent one.
Yeah.
What I take from Cristiano is just incredible work ethic.
Yeah.
It's so inspirational to see that level of determination and hunger and desire and appetite to succeed. And obviously not everyone's going to be a Ronaldo, but you can apply those good practices or good habits in your own life and hopefully achieve your goals and ambitions. So yeah, thank you, Cristiano, for being an inspirational figure.
Even the
I need his hair.
Even his rival
and height.
His rival even takes away that from him. The fact that he's such a hard worker. His rival Messi.
Yeah, I mean,
probably trumping him. Only player that could trump him is a natural talent.
Yeah,
and the only thing that he looks, so highly in Ronaldo is the fact that he's. Such
Do Messi and Ronaldo have beef?
They don't have beef, but they're right in the football world. Statistically, they're the two that are standing on top of everyone.
But it's interesting as well because I've read a few interviews with them. Paul Scholes was a very
Paul Scholes is a legend.
Great.
Yeah,
it's from my time.
What about
Giggs?
Nicky Butt.
Nicky Butt was good. You're talking about the Manchester United squad, are you? Ryan Giggs, Cantona.
Yeah.
I met Cantona actually.
Schmeichel.
What about Phil Neville, Gary Neville?
Yeah, brothers, they were good boys.
Yeah. Do you know what the dad was called?
Stuart.
Neville.
Was it?
Yeah. Apparently.
Who
yeah,
else?
that's right. Yeah, that's pretty sick.
Neville.
Who
I have
else?
a friend called Mohammed.
Really? That's more common though, but Neville.
Sick poet.
Neville.
Plug.
That was good. That was a good lineup actually. That good squad there, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, solid squad.
It was a solid squad. Little Ryan Giggs in number 9.
Yeah, there was the old.
Schmeichel and goal.
Yeah, Schmeichel. I was gonna say that. Yeah.
You had Schmeichel and goal. Yeah.
Great goalkeeper.
He was a great goalkeeper.
What do you guys know about O.J. Simpson?
Orange Juice Simpson.
Jay-Z just put out a tune referencing him, didn't he?
Yeah, O.J.
Yeah, I heard that. What I do know about O.J. Simpson is that he today is going to in front of the parole board to request release from prison.
Really?
Because he has stayed. He has done 9 years of his 33-year sentence, and if they approve it, he'll be out on the 1st of October this year. Have I ruined your current events?
You literally just take. I don't need to be here.
I read that this morning.
I was gonna walk out. No, yeah, that's exactly it. And
that's
I
the
don't
day
know.
he's doing that, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's been televised as well.
Yeah, it's being televised.
Really?
It's
Really?
crazy. Yeah.
Do you guys think that he'll get the parole? Nah.
I don't think you will.
Nah.
I haven't
Probably
watched the
not.
show. Have you guys watched the show? The People vs. O.J. Simpson?
Yeah, I've seen bits of it. Omar was obsessed with it, so I saw bits of it with him, but I didn't watch the whole thing. I'd be lying, but it looked like an amazing production. It won a BAFTA, or maybe a few, but Yeah, he's done 9 years of a maximum of 33. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what his behaviour's been like in prison. Maybe he's had good behaviour. Yeah, I don't know too much about the prison system, me.
Oh, he's a good guy.
Last piece of news as well. Just a thing that's been circulating about the BBC and their pay gap between the genders. They've been criticised heavily. What's your take on that?
I'd be interested in Tommy's take on that. So essentially, the BBC have. Why did they have to release how much people are getting paid?
I don't know why they had to release it.
For some reason, they released.
It didn't get leaked, did it?
No. They had to for some reason. It was expected. So for some reason, they released how much people are getting paid, and there was a what's the word when like you like
outcry, furore.
No, before it got released, there was a guess that it was going to be. Is that right? There was a
speculation.
Yeah, there was speculation that what's going to be released and what's going to be found out is that the male employees of BBC are receiving higher pay than their female counterparts. Isn't that like a? But then they're female peers, right? Now that was confirmed when they came out. So, for example, people like Gary Lineker, it's been shown that gets paid around 1.7 million in a year, as opposed to Carol Winkerman, something along the lines of that is her name, who gets about 400 grand, right? Now, personally, I don't know too much, but what I do know is that it could it be something to do with the fact that Gary Lineker does bring in more views? I mean, like, I've heard about him doing crazy stuff for Match of the Day, which probably brings in more views. Generally, Match of the Day sounds like something that a lot of people watch, compared to, I don't even know what she hosts.
For me, it's also to do with the personality. Yeah,
I'm not very knowledgeable in those, so I'm probably going to get loads of hate, like people saying, like, how dare you, but from what I know, like, I can't imagine, if her pay is really low, and it's so low that it's unfair, that's fair enough, like, there's an argument to be made, but I would never argue that she should be getting paid the same as Gary Lineker, because from what I am guessing, Gary Lineker, like, brings in more, I'm saying this regardless of whether Gary Lineker was a woman or a man. Like, if he was a woman, I would still say he should be getting paid more, because I'm sure he brings in.
I think it's way beyond the gender kind of issue here.
Right, but the issue is the gender thing. Now, people also, the second part of this story is that people are also predicting that people like Graham Norton and some of the big names in BBC, that they're getting paid like loads, right? Now, somehow BBC's managed to actually still hide how much like those guys are getting paid. So there's speculation, like it said that Graham Norton was being paid like 800 grand or something, but there's speculation that he's actually being paid like 2.7 million or something like that. Yeah, something along the lines of that. You have to check the article, but so some people have actually got away with them not finding out. Now here is the juicy part of the story, yeah? The juicy part is that the employees themselves didn't know how much everybody else is getting paid. So for them, they found out in the news as well. So this woman who's getting 400k, she...
Who was that?
Carol Winkerman, is that her name? Something like that, Claudia Winkelman.
Okay.
Something like that. Now, she's a presenter of some sort. I don't know what she presents. I really don't know much about her, but let's say if she, because for all I know, she could be actually bringing in just as much views as Gary Lineker. Maybe she should be getting paid the same. If she's bringing in as much views, then for sure she should be getting paid that much, right? But now who's getting paid 400k, for all she knows, Gary Lineker are getting also paid the same amount as her. So she found out, for example, as far as I know, she also found out when the news broke. So then the story is that apparently like, all of these people are now going to be like belling up their agents, saying basically like, what the flip, why am I getting paid so little compared to everybody else? What are your thoughts, Tommy?
I want the Gary Lineker money, baby. It's probably indicative of issues in society that are ongoing in terms of the gender gap when it comes to pay.
There is a gender gap, right, when it comes to pay?
Definitely. And I'm loath to mansplain or offer commentary as a male on these things, because it might just come across as somewhat condescending and patronizing, because I've never been in those circumstances or situations myself. I have male privilege, I have white privilege, etc., etc. And I can just sort of think back more to how my mum raised me up. and the values she instilled in me in terms of addressing injustice at a micro or macro level. And as we referred to in the Grenfell incident, a banality of evil. Obviously, that's an apex of that phrase, but just this mediocrity of injustice. So whereby, it's these small micro tyrannies that go on a day-to-day level that culminate into something much, much bigger. So women getting paid less than men, even though they might have the same level of competencies, skill set, that might even be better. I was reading something that a female colleague of mine posted last year, actually. I was just doing some work with her on Sunday, filming for a multimedia production of Shakespeare's Macbeth. And I read it and I was thinking, wow, that's never going to happen to me as a guy. So it was talking about her just traveling down the street and being exposed to sexist remarks. And in the post, she was saying how I'm not letting this go. So there was one Deliveroo guy who was basically stalking her and harassing her down the street for like 20 minutes, making vulgar comments, crass remarks, etc. So then she followed him into the restaurant he works at and said, this guy has just been, she made an official complaint.
Oh, too right. That's sick.
And then she was saying how she was walking past a building site, I think the same day, and again, some of the employees were making vulgar, sexist, crude remarks about her. Walked in, made an official complaint. And she was saying that maybe women have to endure this stuff on not just a daily basis, but multiple times throughout a day, just getting abusive, vulgar, foul remarks made to them. And she's saying, don't tolerate even the smallest instance of it. Fight. Use the system to your advantage. Use your knowledge of how these professional practices work, your rights, how to make official complaints, etc. And she was saying how when she complained at this building site, they were properly furious about it. That they were so apologetic to her, and she was surprised by that response. So sometimes you think, my complaining is not going to change anything. Well, it's actually worth doing. So this is one example, the example I cited right at the start of our discussion about the sister I know who was at the meeting last night at the town hall complaining on behalf of this family of 5.
That actually made front page news, yeah.
It was sorted within an hour in terms of their hotel accommodation. So I think it's about us empowering ourselves with the knowledge of how the system works, because those in power who know the system intimately inside out and are in a higher level in the pyramid, in the hierarchy than maybe we are, will use it to their full advantage to benefit maybe financially or in terms of power, privilege, notoriety, etc. But we do live, for all its shortcomings, we do live in a pretty amazing country which has very long established traditions, establishments, organizations, practices, laws that we can use for our betterment and to seek justice, even if it's on a small level. So obviously this whole issue of the gender gap in the BBC pay is a much, much, much bigger discussion. There's going to be so many variables, so many vectors at work that I'm not necessarily privy to as a layperson. But it's just a microcosm or reflection that however many advances we have made in the past 50 years in terms of women's rights, there's still far to go. And women's rights, that's the one.
Her?
No, that's not her, but it's from the meeting.
Yeah, because this is what I found.
Yeah, women's rights are an issue for all of us because, we have mothers, we have wives, we have partners, we have daughters, sisters, aunties, etc., female colleagues, students we work with, so on and so forth. So it's hopefully, that transparency, which can only be a healthy thing, again, can be a catalyst for productivity, positivity, and being proactive. So let's move forwards. Big up to my mum. She instilled these values in me from a young age. So I was sort of got a lot of my personal politics and values from her.
Yeah, because there was a hashtag going around on Twitter yesterday that was trending called about BBC Pay, and people were kind of like complaining about it, and then throughout as the day went on, the top trend became "I still love the BBC" or something like that, or we're behind the BBC. So the public started actually backing the BBC.
How long has Gary Lineker been around for?
Oh, Gary!
Wow,
oh, Gaza!
OG, isn't he?
Gary's OG,
Yeah, he's
man. He's
OG,
been doing
he's
your
older
Walkers
Does he not
adverts.
deserve to get paid more than?
I'm going to circumvent potential contention here and give a personal anecdote. My grandparents are from Leicester. Oadby, to be precise, for the Leicester Massive. They know about Oadby, right? So they knew
Massive.
Gary Lineker's parents. Because Gary Lineker's parents had a stall on Leicester Market. So my grandparents were buddies.
Do you reckon they still have that store?
I'm not sure. Do you know, I have a suspicion they actually do, you know. I do. But yeah, Gary Lineker obviously is I read a very interesting interview with Rio Ferdinand, who I've met as well. And Rio Ferdinand was saying that when he made the transition from being a professional football player to being a commentator and whatnot, how his relationships with his fellow footballers changed. So guys who he'd previously played with or had known from playing football, who are now commentators and whatnot, he was saying how touched he was by how supportive they were. So he was saying, Alan Shearer, for instance, when he played with him for England, he said, he found him a bit aloof and distant. And then he said when he joined the BBC team, he said he was so supportive, saying, look, if there's anything you need, just speak to me. Same with, I think, Tony Adams or Martin Keough, whoever these players were. And he was saying about Gary Lineker, how he makes it seem so effortless, but to do what he does, anchoring a TV show for the past 20 years, I believe it is, and to come up with the quips, the funny remarks, to be able to respond to your guests, is a very, very difficult thing to do. And like I say,
you
make
people
it
in your ear and you're trying to cut time.
I've done TV presenting before. When you've got that earpiece and they're saying, look to the camera, look there, say this to your guests and stuff, and you're trying to multitask while you've got that. So it's not easy. So yeah, he's definitely, and one of the things that came out of this BBC thing is BBC is actually paying people less than the market value because they're not a commercial enterprise.
Channel 4 pay more.
That's the thing. Exactly.
Maybe that's why the Bake Off went to Channel 4. But yeah, obviously Gary Lineker was a great footballer, and he's obviously a great professional as a presenter as well.
Being a pundit's not easy. A lot of people get rejected. Aren't received as well by the public as others, and he's a presenter as well as a pundit. He's been carrying it for so long. And
what's the difference between a presenter and a pundit? What's a pundit?
He presents and pundit. So he presents the show.
You're like the presenter, I'm like the pundit today.
Right.
Pretty much.
Okay.
But I'm coming for your crowns.
But he's almost like the captain, of a football team.
Yeah.
He's a holding midfielder.
That's a good analogy.
You don't know about Red, Tommy. Let's just say that. Red's the guy.
Yeah, he is.
Let me just say something about Red. Red's that guy.
Wow.
Red is that. Explain Red in 3 words, Sam.
That guy there.
Literally. In every sense of the word, he's that guy there.
I'm impressed.
Yeah. 3 letters. R-E-D. 3 words, that guy there.
I see you're coming for my poetical crown.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a poet myself.
Really?
No, I'm
Could
really
you
not.
share some of your craft, perchance?
That'd be nice. Go on. Just do one line.
One time in school.
There's no ers allowed. Rs.
One time in primary school. This isn't my poem, by the way.
Oh, okay. This is the introduction, the preamble.
So one time in primary school, we had a teacher and she was taking assembly, and I used to always be a bit cheeky and bust a bit of joke, I used to be the class clown, and it was in primary school, we were 7 years old, and she was doing a serious assembly, and she asked us, she asked a question to the crowd, and she must have said it might have been about poetry, and she was asking us if we know any poems or something, and I had my hand up and she looked at me and she goes, Faisal, and then she goes, only serious answers, no joking about. And I went, yeah, of course. And then I went, roses are red, violets are blue, something like cows are stinky and so are you. And to my teacher, and she told me not to bust a joke and to be serious. She laughed and it was fine.
Can I share a really juvenile joke?
Go ahead.
If you need to edit it out later, you can. It's not 18 rated. What's the only sort of poo that doesn't stink?
Winnie the Pooh.
No. Shampoo.
Hey.
I have a career in comedy ahead of me.
Winnie the Pooh is good as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to remember that one.
Yeah.
So it's not the only type of poo that doesn't stink.
2.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
Although, have you spent much time around bears? Because I don't know, they don't come across as being particularly fragrant mammals to myself.
I mean,
especially if you're in the bear pit, and that's where they
That's true.
sleep,
Who's
use the toilet.
bear, innit, Sam? We're talking about bears now. The conversation's moving on.
I was gonna say,
You
like,
evolve it or you don't.
grizzlies are always after salmon and fish,
Yeah.
but I mean, Winnie only eats honey.
Yeah, and in his defense,
which is a sunnah, to be fair, mashallah.
in his defense as well, he's a fictional character, so he only lives on the page as opposed to a real life bear pit.
True.
A man fell over a drum kit. I read the joke. A man fell over a drum kit.
Ah, dudung. Yeah,
Good joke, huh?
yeah.
If I didn't mess it up first time, it would have been great.
If you had like a drum kit here to do the dudung, that would be
Yeah.
even better. So do you have a career in comedy ahead? Is this something you're thinking about?
Inshallah.
You two would make a great partner. I think you'd be like the straight man to his clown.
I have to agree.
What do you call a row of rabbits walking backwards? Receding hairline. That's for you, Sam.
Oh,
That's good. That's really good, to be fair.
I'm glad you didn't say me there.
Yeah.
I'll just keep my head like this for the remainder of the podcast.
What's the difference between an elephant and a rhino? Elephino.
Yeah, I think I was a bit premature in my assessment of your comedy career.
Yeah.
I think you have
That's what I got.
potential.
That's what I got.
I think I'm going to press the button, isn't it? And
Yeah, I don't have any more.
First is gonna be too serious in a couple of weeks. He's gonna be wearing suits.
Yeah.
Really?
You
We're
better enjoy it.
discussing-
Laugh, enjoy it while you can.
So
No more
just-
jokes. I've taken a new
We're
turn.
discussing how
and you leave.
his dress sense has matured a little bit.
No, not right now.
Really?
No, right now. No, right now.
Not
No,
right
right now.
now.
No, right now.
Trackies,
No, no, no.
t-shirt, and
Not
trainers.
Not today. Not today. Not today.
It's a
Well,
dress
today I'm
code
wearing an
Thursday.
unironed t-shirt, which I believe has some what's it on it, and some trackies and some dirty trainers. But generally, otherwise, yeah,
He's been dressing smart casual recently.
yeah.
When I was at school, one of the teachers was known for his interesting dress sense, and in a very Alan Partridge-esque response to my question when asked, "What sort of jacket is that, sir?" He said, "Sports casual." There was this like beigey brown corduroy soiled jacket with patches on the arms, and didn't look particularly casual or sporty.
Sports casual.
Yeah.
Speaking of Alan Partridge, I had a
Yeah.
comment on one of my YouTube. I don't know anything about Alan Partridge other than I know what his face looks like. Wait, hold on. Is he a fictional character?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, someone commented on my YouTube videos that he face reminds me of Alan Partridge, and I think I need to be offended by that.
No, that's a good thing.
But I googled him then, and he's not the most serious of people, is he?
He's hilarious, man.
Another little story anecdote for you. A buddy of mine used to live in Steve Coogan, aka Alan Partridge's old flat off Archway Road, and it was pretty sick. It had a rooftop garden with a barbecue and stuff. And actually, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, actually Brighton to be specific, I was walking along the waterfront in Brighton, and I actually saw Steve Coogan, aka Alan Partridge, and I was very tempted to go, but I imagine he probably gets that 100 times
What's
a day.
aha?
That's his catchphrase,
Yeah.
is Alan Partridge. So,
Aha.
like that.
And that's what I'm being related to. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I thought that would irritate him, so I refrained.
Would
So
you say he's funny?
I personally
You don't like his comedy?
find him hilarious.
Oh, you do?
Although there's a caveat to this, because I'm so busy with my own creativity.
Tommy's a busy guy, Sam.
Yeah. Sorry.
Tommy doesn't have time for.
That's why it took you ages to get me on the
Sam,
phone.
Tommy doesn't have time for laughing.
No, not that, but it's interesting that the more I create, the less I consume. So time is something that's a very precious commodity, and as the older you get, it becomes more so. And you also become a lot more focused in terms of how you spend your time.
Isn't consuming fundamental to creating?
I think that's a very, very, very valid argument. And I'm in a position whereby I'm almost, not quite, in a sort of vacuum or bubble where, in terms of my writing, I just do it very independent. I mean, poetry, book writing, I mean, I've been working on a few books and whatnot, as well as a thesis. So it's quite a solitary affair. Having said that, because I perform so much, I'm around so many creatives, and I see so many people perform. So I'm going to be exposed to other artists, but the actual actor creation is quite a solitary affair for me at this stage of my career. Let me add a caveat to that. As a writer, for instance, when I'm doing acting or when I'm performing or something like this, it is obviously a collaborative experience, which is the most fun. So like I said, when we were doing that filming for Macbeth on Sunday, that was
you told me about that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm looking
forward to seeing you tomorrow, Tommy.
Yeah, I haven't forgotten. That was a good reminder.
I hope you haven't.
Even on Sunday, I'm performing as part of a photography exhibition, so they're going to capture my performance and do these really weird blurry sort of photos. But again, that's a collaborative.
Red's an amazing photographer.
Really?
Yeah.
I shall have to.
His work's been in exhibitions.
Sick. We need to talk. But the point I'm trying to make is I'm probably less dependent now at this stage of my career on purposefully going out to pick up influences from others than when you're learning your craft. But then also it's not necessarily healthy to isolate yourself whereby you lose touch, you don't know what the latest trends are, you're not aware of who the movers and shakers in the scene are so that you can improve your own ability. So I have a healthy balance between private work and public or communal interaction with other artists and
so you've got like
creatives.
a good ambience of creativity around you as opposed to you actually consciously going and looking.
Yeah. Oh, you've seen my stuff, yeah?
Yeah.
To make sure you answer correctly. No, I mean, it's very intuitive, and I feel most at home around fellow artists because you're kindred spirits. You look at the world very different.
Do you not feel intimidated by them?
No,
not intimidated.
No.
No.
Do you know what I love seeing people who are more talented than me. And I was having this conversation with Caleb Femi, who is the young laureate for London. So every year there is a young laureate for London appointed, so like the poet laureate, the official poet for the capital and whatnot. So I was interviewing him for this project I write for called Afropean, and I was saying, so which poets are you feeling at the moment? And he was mentioning a few different people, and he was saying how he saw this one performance and like the lady blew him away and everything. And he was thinking, wow, like I've been performing longer than her, but she was so much better than me. Something to that effect anyway. And I was like, dude, I share the same sentiment. Like we were just both agreeing that we don't feel intimidated by seeing an artist who's your equal or superior, whether that's generally or in that moment of time. In fact, it inspires you. You celebrate their success. It's not like you want them, I don't want them to do well. You're happy to see your fellow creatives do well, because if one progresses, we all do. And it inspires you to hone your craft. Steel sharpens steel. So just as Messi and Ronaldo push each other, or Federer and Nadal push each other, or Jay-Z and Nas push each other, it's the same thing when I see other poets or creators, be they wordsmiths or artists, photographers, filmmakers. I'm like, wow, you're so sick. It just inspires me to keep pushing, not to rest on my laurels. I love it. And I'm happy to see them do well. I genuinely am.
But no time for laughing.
There's always time for laughing, especially at oneself.
What about you, Sam? When you see a good haircut, someone else do a good haircut, do you feel like, oh, that little, wish I did that?
No.
You feel inspired by it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
That's good.
Are you inspired by my haircut?
Who does your hair, Tommy?
Me. Not that there's much to cut.
What do you use? Like a razor or a machine?
Like a clipper, like a $9.99 clipper from Argos that I have to buy a new one every like 8 to 10 months. So I do that, then shape the sides, shape the tash, and then I've got like a tiny little fine liner just to really neaten it up. No, I never thought I'd be on camera talking about my grooming habits.
Well, you're on camera with one of the world's best barbers.
I know. I feel honoured to be in his presence.
And Sam.
Ooh. Da-ding.
Yeah. You're here with Sam, one of the world's best barbers, and you're here with me, a person who goes to a barber shop.
This one, I hope.
Wow, hold on. Because you got to get somewhere for one, don't you?
I'm good. We can go for a bit longer if we need to.
Okay.
If you want to get a few extra things, that's cool. So I was saying, have you done any modelling? And you said...
I said, no, have you? And you said, yes.
That's correct.
And I was about to say, what have you done modelling for?
I'm actually doing a fair bit this weekend.
Are you?
Believe it or not, yeah. Often it's in collaboration with clothing companies. So they might want to... Exploit is the wrong word. Take advantage is the wrong word. benefit from one's cultural capital. So one's status as a creative, one's cool, one's charisma. Hopefully I'm not being too self-aggrandizing, and add value to the brand in that way. And it means I get to be really narcissistic and vainglorious and admire myself in the mirror and have people take pictures of me, which is always fun. So that's one area I've done it. I've done so for people who are photographers and they're looking to build their portfolio. And that was the most recent one. I did one for a photographer like that. She just sent me the pictures for yesterday. So I did that last month. The one I'm doing this weekend, well, there's two this weekend. So one is for a fashion label, and then one is for someone who's doing like an art project. So he's got an exhibition that's launching on Thursday, next week, which I'm performing at. And he's looking at the concept of short-sightedness. So all his photos of the models all have this slight blurred vibe to them. So they've got these really almost neon lit backgrounds, and then the models are blurred out. So you can make out their shapes and maybe their height, their build, their gender, but that's about it. So what I'm going to be doing with him on Sunday, so yeah, I'm doing 2 photo shoots on Sunday, is to be performing. And so he's going to catch me in movement and frame my image that way. So it's not a static.
It would be blurred.
Yeah. So it's going to add to the sense of motion and dynamism. So I'm increasingly doing modeling work. And also just people who maybe have Instagram accounts as well, who are like Instagram photographers. They're looking for people. There we go. I've got another offer on. They're looking to expand their online archive, shall we say. And again, looking at you as someone who maybe also has a following, has a certain suaveness. Hopefully I'm not being too self-aggrandizing, and you can add value to their project. So yeah, it's great. It's fun. I really enjoy it. And again, it's all performance related. And this is one of the things I'm so blessed to do what I do, because everything I do is performance, whether it's academia or arts. You're accentuating aspects of your character to communicate and build a relationship with the audience. So as an academic, for instance, I was sharing my research at Cambridge University in May. So there's a room full of like scholars, academics, postgrad researchers, people doing PhDs, etc. And there might be really amazing ideas on the page, but how do you translate that into a presentation? People aren't always naturally confident speaking in front of a crowd. They might feel a bit shy, nervous, not have charisma, confidence when public speaking. So my years and years of being an entertainer, performer, musician, spoken word artist means I can go into that domain and deliver my research very confidently. And it's ironic actually, because one of the guys there used to be the A&R for So Solid Crew. And he went from working for Independiente Records to working for Cambridge University. Yeah. So he recognized that quality in me in terms of both being a guy from the music game and academia. Yeah. And then as a creative, my academic work strengthens and empowers me in that it makes me a better editor in my writing. Because if you're writing an 80,000 word thesis, you have to strip out a lot of extraneous material and ideas and just focus on communicating your ideas. So again, it makes you a better creative writer in that you're not excessive when penning that poem. You just keep it to the main points, and you're not overly indulgent. So it's a beautiful synthesis of 2 very different disciplines that are actually not that different.
Man,
you talk incredibly well.
The thing is though, like, there's a lot of intelligent people that you can listen to but not actually consume the knowledge, and you manage to put as well as your vocabulary is, you manage to put across the message very clearly and concisely. Because
there's a danger as well of becoming haughty with it. So because you've read a few books, or you're doing a PhD, or you've had this level of success as a creative, you could start to think that makes you a better human being, and you're above people, and oh look, the great unwashed, who are they? But I think one thing I took from the life of Malcolm X was his ability to relate to different strata of society. So he was able to speak so eloquently in the presence of politicians, in the presence of academics, but also in the presence of working class people, and impact them all emotionally and really communicate his ideas. So he's someone who really had a massive role in shaping my life and outlook.
Malcolm X.
Ah, yeah. Do you know what? I saw my mum reading his book, which again tells you a lot about my mum. I went and got it and I read it in a day. I started at about 3 or 4 in the afternoon. I was finished the next day.
You had a whole book in a day?
Yeah. It's
Did you do that
incredible.
often?
No, I wouldn't do that often, but his autobiography is incredible,
Yeah, I heard
written
great
with Alex Haley. And also, there's one written more recently by Manning Marable called Malcolm X, The Life of Reinvention. Has been critiqued and questioned and whatnot, but again, just approach it with an open mind and then maybe, weigh it up against the autobiography. Whenever people write something, it's not a clean process. People are always going to have their own ideas and beliefs and agendas and objectives and whatnot. There's no, strict objectivity. There's always going to be a form of subjectivity and whatnot. But yeah, Malcolm X, The Life of Reinvention by Manning Marable. That came out about 6 years ago. I recommend that as well. Really looks strongly at his political activism in the latter years of his life, especially when he traveled in Africa and Europe. So there's a lot of lessons that can be learned from those books. I actually saw Malcolm X's daughter speak about 2 or 3 years ago.
Really?
Amazing, yeah.
I didn't realise that he even had children, to be honest. Tommy, it's been amazing having you on. Unfortunately, we have to round it up. But please do come back at some point.
I'd love to.
It's an open invitation. And thank you so much for spreading your knowledge and using words that we didn't always understand.
I don't understand them either. I just try and throw a few out there, make myself look a bit smarter than I actually am. But thank you all for listening. And disclaimer, these are just my opinions. I'm always open to being corrected or shown alternate worldviews. I don't think I have the answers for everything. I'm still a work in progress and learning, so hopefully I'm not offended or upset anyone with my ideas.
Well, this was Freshly Grounded, and we are going now. Goodbye.